bush.
How many did you save?
Just like a dream.
You did the only thing you could do. And you lost.
Like a dream.
Look, we're still in this thing.
The day you walked away.
But we have no idea what we're dealing with.
Unfortunate.
Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?
Boyd, we're out of food.
Too many things are changing. Yeah. I have to remember.
Remember what?
What's missing?
Nothing that I've been through is possible.
I think you're here for what's in the basement.
This place will not break us. We can still win. But the only way we go home is together.
Hello. Come on, go. The game here is rigged. Why can't they leave us alone?
No matter what this place throws at us, we're gonna find our way home. Everybody just talks about how afraid they are of dying. Well, I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here. Hello?
Like a dream.
You looking for these?
Into my life.
You can't save them all.
But things are really how they seem.
What are the bottles for?
I'm going into the tunnels. I'm gonna find those things. And I'm gonna burn every last fucking one of them.
Okay.
Okay, what?
Okay, let's do it. Let's go.
Victor and Tabitha said they're everywhere down there.
Yeah, Jade went down there. Clearly saw some disturbing shit. What he didn't see, creatures. Not a single one.
There's one thing I do know. This is how they want us. Angry. I also know this. Hey, if we find them, there's a good chance we are not coming back. But if this is what you want to do, I will go with you, side by side, and we will take out as many of those motherfuckers as we can.
And how alone she must have felt.
Hey. She wasn't alone. It made me watch. Hey. She was strong, Kenny. She was strong. Listen to me. She was brave. She looked at me and she did not take her eyes off me. Before she died, she said, Oho chuguko yiga takochi gela. No, I don't even know if I'm saying this right.
Take care of him. That's what it means. Take care of him. He'll be alone now.
Come here, man. Come here. It's okay. I got you, bro. Hey, let's go back, okay?
Oof. Welcome one, welcome all to another edition, somber edition, as the start of it is any indication, of the Fromville Hour. And man, after episode 2 has come and gone in the just emotional gut punch that episode delivered to each and every one of us, it is nice to be back here diving into all things From with each and every one of you, and cannot wait to see what the rest of this season has in store for us. But man, I mean, that second episode was just, I mean, I totally understand now why Harold Perrineau said this is the last time I am ever watching this episode. Totally freaking get it. This one was a just roller coaster. A lot of ups and downs, mostly downs, a lot of emotional moments, a lot of, again, gut punches. They definitely were hitting us in the feels with this episode. And like Ravener pointed out in our last show, the acting from Ricky Kenny in this episode, phenomenal.
Yeah, he was very consistent all the way through. The acting was a little wild. Some people can do the cry, some people can do the freak out, and some can't. And we saw that. We saw it was hit and miss, but he was very consistent all the way through. He could pull the cry off in a believable way. It wasn't overdone, underdone. It was just right. And literally, I've probably seen this either the whole episode or elements of it a dozen times without even exaggerating, and it still gets me. You get that little hitch and you're like, yeah, there you go. All right. Very excellent job with the editing, how much they're packing in. They give you it's like all thriller, no filler. They're giving us the good stuff. They're cutting out unnecessary things that would, they could drag it out if they wanted to. They could have added 10 seconds here, 15 seconds there, give us what would appear to be deepening the scene, showing us a little more, but ultimately it's not serving the plot. It's not moving the story forward. They cut all that out, and then what we're left with is another really excellent episode, a very strong 1-2 start for the season, for season 3. We're so glad it came out that way, with all the build up, the super long wait from season 2 with the strike and everything else. It's really paid off. It's really paid off in these first 2 episodes. They've got a ton of mileage out of these first 2 episodes as far as what they put in the trailer. There's probably less than a handful of scenes remaining that we haven't seen actually play out in the show yet, and 8 episodes to go, so a lot of it is going to be a surprise for us.
It is, and that's great about when shows choose to kind of cut their trailers from only like the first 3-4 episodes or so, and it seems like that's kind of what they did here. Like you said, the first 2 episodes are down, and we've covered just about 90% of the things we've seen in the trailers. So yeah, I mean, the second half of this season in particular is going to be just completely all new stuff for the most part for us, and I love that about this show. Yeah, man, it's just like you said, coming off of an extended hiatus like that, stuff like that kills shows. I mean, the last time the writer's strike came around back in the day, it destroyed so many shows, so many really good shows like Heroes, and some shows just never recovered from having that extended hiatus. But man, they used their extra time very wisely, it seemed, because they crafted so far potentially maybe their best season yet. This is definitely rivaling season 1 so far, as up until this point, based on these first 2 episodes. Because I really hold season 1 in very high regard. It's one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen. Season 2 is great too, but I really prefer season 1 the most. But this very well could top season 1 in many ways by the time it is all said and done. And just super pumped to see them come back off the hiatus with just all firing on all cylinders pretty much, and really did not skip a beat. They really picked up all of that momentum. They picked right back up, it feels.
Oh, absolutely. And that was a huge question mark hanging over all summer, essentially. It's, we were asking each other, we're wondering among, the Fromily, will they be able to get the momentum? How will they recapture that momentum? Because it was essentially not through any fault of their own, but it was gone. It was squandered. We're like, well, what are they going to do? When are they going to start issuing trailers? How are they going to get momentum going? Well, a good way to get the momentum going is to have 2 banging episodes for the season premiere and then the number 2. They've really played it perfectly, and they've obviously listened to fan criticism. I don't know, you never know to what extent they've applied it to the actual nuts and bolts of the show, but they absolutely did, and they're giving us a whole lot more of what we were calling for. What maybe some fans, and probably myself included, felt maybe season 2 was lacking. Well, number 3 has it in spades. Primarily, a lot of FaceTime for the monsters this season. So.
Yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to be a big one. I think it's been just phenomenal. And yeah, as Johnny brings up here, Boyd outside of the ambulance with the monster kind of jangling the keys. It's that scene and like 2 other scenes is pretty much the only things we really haven't seen yet. So yeah, like so much of what is going to be happening in season 3 is just going to be all new stuff. And I like it because even some of the scenes that they did show to us in the trailers, they're very clever in the way that they choose to cut these trailers together. They're very good at the sleight of hand with filmography. They set up a scene where we think, it's going A, and boom, when we actually see the scene in its full context, it's just something totally different, that we completely thought it was. So yeah, it's awesome to know that they didn't go too deep with the trailer in terms of putting in footage from the second half of the season. It's going to look like most of that stuff is going to be new to most of us. So I love it. I absolutely love it, and could not be more excited to be diving into Fromville with each and every one of you in the awesome chat here this evening. Let me scroll up. Let me see who's in here tonight with us. The awesome Fromily. The awesome Fromily. See Dana Marie in the house. What is up, Dana? Good to see you as well. We got Daryl in the house. What is up, Daryl? We got Robert Saunders in the building. What is up, Robert? Always good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you. We got Sweet Pea in the building. Welcome, Sweet Pea. Most welcome. We got Scarlet Fever. What is up, Scarlet Fever? Good to see you as well. And again, I will be thanking Scarlett and Dana for the rest of my days for the just phenomenal birthday present they managed to wrangle up for me this year in terms of that just great freaking message we got from Jade himself. My favorite character on the show, wishing me a happy birthday. It does not get better than that. So again, thank you guys so much for that. It truly did make my birthday this year, without a doubt.
And they have the amazing format, their Monday night show, the panel show with that format, something I don't see other people doing. They've got a lock on it, and it's going real smooth, going real good. So do yourself a favor, sub to Scarlett's channel, and don't miss that Monday evening show for them. It's they're going to have a rotating panel, different from oriented creators throughout the remainder of the season at the very least. Definitely worth it. You and I were on the last couple of weeks, but they're going to mix it up, and it's perspectives that you may not hear anywhere else. So definitely, we had a blast every time, and couldn't be more happy, for them, how it's going. Just the crowd is growing exponentially by the week, and we hope it keeps going up, because it's something, if you like talking from, if you like hearing a lot of different perspectives and some good questions too, not just the same stuff that you've heard a million times.
Yeah,
you'll find it
they
there.
They got a really good format going that they're playing with, and they're refining, and it's been so fun. Like you said, we've been on there twice already. And I had an absolute blast both times I was over there. And again, you guys will probably catch Raven and I over there every once in a while. I mean, we'll try to make as many of them as we can, because it truly is a really fun kind of format that they have laid out there. And I'm just super proud of them. Just seeing all the work that Dana and Scarlett have put in for well over a year now. It's awesome to see their hard work is paying off, and they're really kind of coming into their own. They're finding a really nice format that works well for them, that people seem to really enjoy watching too. So it's so awesome to see that kind of work out well. So happy for you guys, super happy for you guys. And I will definitely be over there hanging out on Monday nights as much as I am able, because it really is a blast. Really is a blast. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. And yes, the writers definitely have us on the edge of our seats, literally speculating daily. And that's what's so fun about this show, this community, this Fromily that we're kind of growing and cultivating here. It really is. It's just, it brings a lot of awesome and like-minded people together to kind of dive into this just phenomenal, crazy mystery and see if we can find some kind of way of making heads or tails of what the heck John Griffin and the rest of the writers are throwing at us. But it's been a blast, and it will continue to be a blast. We got 8 more weeks, guys. 8 freaking weeks, 2 more months to dive head first into all things Fromville. And that is exactly what we will be doing right here. And I cannot wait to share the experience with each and every one of y'all.
Yeah. Hey, you think
this is gonna be the one.
I think the Halloween will fall, I think, between week 6 and 7, if I recall, somewhere in there.
Yep,
You
right
think
around
they've got
there,
a
yeah.
banger? You think they got a banger waiting for us?
Well, looking back on the format for seasons 1 and 2, both season 1 and 2, 6 and 7, episode 6 and 7 tend to be when something big happens in both seasons. Season 1, we have the Colony House Massacre, which happens on episode 7. And in season 2, we have the death of Smiley that comes in episode 6. So it seems like if they're following a similar format, right around the midway point of every season, they tend to have a really big moment for us. So yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if they have something similar in store for when we get to around episode 6 or 7. Yeah.
Okay. And then that'll give us an episode or two to catch our breaths. They didn't even, because we already know episodes 9 and 10 with, I mean, zero spoilers here, but it's called Revelations 1 and Revelations 2. So it essentially is going to be a 2-part finale. So yeah, if something big pops off in episode 6 or 7, then that will give us that little time to catch our breath, that little time to gather ourselves, get our heart rate back down, and then bam, finish strong. And I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see what they have in store. They've done so good with these first 2. And I was anticipating that. That was one of the few predictions that I did make. I was like, they can't kill somebody every episode. Number one, they just can't do it. There's not enough people that are expendable. It would make sense, and it would lose its effect.
Yeah, we become desensitized to it if we're seeing death on every episode. The way they keep it sparingly, it hits way harder this way.
But they gave us that creepy Fatima eating rotten stuff, and then left us with the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers, like the literal fade to black after Jim answered the phone. So it looks good. I mean, these guys, the guys steering the ship, you can have a lot of confidence in them because they really are. It looks like they know what they're doing. So it's like, wow, what a freaking relief, man. I've been let down so many times by so many different, sometimes you get 6 episodes in, more than that even sometimes. And then it's just like, it completely loses the plot. The characters that they've spent 6 episodes establishing, they changed completely. And it's like, well, who are these people? A lot of it is the writing by committee, which is always a disaster. But
and that's why this is so great coming from John Griffin's mind. Like, he is the brainchild of the show. He created it. He sets the tone. I mean, I imagine that he has many other writers working under him, but knowing that most of this is pretty much all coming from one mind, I think that's going to help in those cases that you just mentioned.
Cool.
Sorry.
No, it's cool.
Yeah, no, it's such a great show, man. And like you said, it feels like they have the right creative people in the right place to kind of really just knock this thing out of the freaking park. And I think they'll continue to do so. I think they will continue to do so. But you just mentioned it in terms of, this episode starting off with, ending off anyway, with a literal just mother of all cliffhangers in terms of Jim receiving this incredibly cryptic phone call from someone claiming to be their dead, deceased son, Thomas. And we had, we had some interesting discussions on this in, I believe in the Discord it was. And we were kind of trying to suss out just how old would Thomas be right now if he never died? I mean, because it seemed like he was pretty much an infant when he died. So if he did die on that changing table as an infant baby, it stands to reason that this kid shouldn't even be able to talk, let alone use a damn phone.
Right.
So you start, you start to think, what the heck is going on here? And I guess that'll be the first question that we dive into for you, Ravener, and for everybody else in the chat. what did you guys think of this scene right here? Do you think that this is really potentially, Thomas reaching out from the beyond? Is Thomas really potentially alive somewhere? Or is this more likely maybe, an entity or Fromville itself trying to manipulate Jim in one way or another? What do you think?
Absolutely, it's a red herring of some kind. No way that it's actually Thomas. The voice, of course, it's a child's voice, but it's more the age of the boy in white, or even Ethan. Definitely not something like a toddler, even like a very articulate toddler would have, because he was, Julie said that he fell off the table when when she was 15. She's only 16 now, so even if he was, whatever, 8 months old or something, he'd be still under 2 years old, if he actually, if he aged in the afterlife at the same rate as he does in real life. Definitely not him. And I think a lot of it was, if you roll it back to the scene leading up to that, a lot of people put their finger on how, it was Jim and Ethan and Julie walking down the thing, and they just sort of like, we're going to go look at the animals, make sure the animals have been fed or something. And, Jim's like, well, it's getting dark, maybe it was, it was still light in the afternoon and stuff, but just after all this stuff had happened, you'd think you'd want to keep a close eye. Why would he just let them go? Well, that was another situation where the writers had to get Jim alone. Now the question is, who's Jim going to tell about this? Can he tell anybody about this? What more is going to happen? Is there going to be more? Because all he said is, Dad, it's Thomas. Are they going to have a full conversation, at the beginning of episode 3? Don't know. I mean, he didn't just, he didn't just call him and hang up on him, like prank phone call.
Psych, it's Thomas. Psych, hang up. Like, fuck, throw him for a big loop like that.
Yeah. So what more is he going to tell him? He's like, Mom made it. Mom made it Mom made it out of here. I'm watching her now. Who knows what the voice is going to say? That we got the beginning of the phone call. We didn't get the end. I don't think we didn't get the middle. So
and like you said, in terms of this being the only one, I don't think it will be. I get the feeling this might be just the start of some weird and trippy phone calls that Jim might be receiving this year, because I keep remembering that there is one little clip in a TV promo trailer. It's not in any of the long trailers that we've been dissecting, for the last few months. But if you actually watch TV on their actual MGM channel, they have quick little TV promos that promote From and some other shows every once in a while. And in one of their From promos, there's a scene of Jim standing right at this phone, slamming it down, hanging it up very angrily, like just slamming it back down as he hangs it up. So I get the feeling this is not going to be the only phone call that he's going to get this season. I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be some kind of theme that is continued, or maybe it's just this one phone call, and whatever he ends up hearing, at the start of episode 3 makes him angry for some reason, that he slams the phone down. Because I keep picturing that scene of him just hanging that phone up very, very violently. So that tells me there is some more weird trippiness about to happen with this phone call stuff. But like
otherwise,
you said, we got
because otherwise they'd have to figure out a way to get him alone every time.
Yeah.
And I saw people in the chat saying that he might talk to Boyd. Of course, Donna and he were the two that shared their the voice on the radio experience, and they were close. They played that one very close to the chest as well. So it just depends on how open these people are going to be this year. I can't wait to see them talk about how they're going to trap the monster, which is, the episode title is Mousetrap. But they're just finally, it's they're still taking baby steps. It's not all at once, but we're finally seeing at least some evidence on screen, not the behind this, not off screen and implied sharing of info, but actually showing us.
Yeah. And it's great, man. It's nice to know that we are potentially, entering the season where we are going to start to get some of those kind of definitive answers. And it seems like they are going to start moving this plot ahead a lot more than they did in the first 2 seasons. And I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, and we're already getting some pretty massive reveals and pretty massive answers. In episode 2, in particular, we get a massive answer that we've been wondering for a very long time, in terms of just how exactly did Miranda know everything she knew. She seemed to know almost everything about this place based on the few scenes we get of her in season 2. She knew about the Uncouey children. She knew about the lighthouse. She knew about some kind of way out of Fromville. How did she know all of this stuff? We were wondering that for a while. Is she having visions? Is Eloise having visions and relaying this to her? And now at least, we get that small definitive answer that Miranda was seeing Fromville and seeing all of this weird stuff well before she even got trapped in Fromville. So again, it's a small answer, yes, but it was one that I was very much wondering for a very long time, because we had no idea how Miranda knew everything. So I get the feeling that's kind of how this season is going to go. As the episodes progress, we'll continue to get kind of small answer here, small answer there, and maybe some bigger ones as we get to the later episodes. Like you mentioned earlier, episode 9 and 10 are entitled Revelations Part 1 and 2. That stands to reason that this season is going to end on some kind of big reveal that we're going to get, that's probably going to be pretty profound, in terms of a lot bigger than just finding out about Miranda's source of her visions. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the cast and crew telling us that we are going to get answers this season, looks like they were telling the truth. I mean, 2 episodes in and we're already getting some nice answers. So I love it. I love it. But what do you guys think in the chat? What is up with this weird Thomas voice? Do you guys think this is actually really Thomas from Beyond the Grave? A deceased Thomas reaching out to Jim through the phone? I mean, we have seen other cases where dead characters or dead people seem to be able to reach out to certain members of the living. Is this potentially Thomas that never died? Which I saw some people had that theory as well, which is an interesting one. I suppose anything's possible. There's so much that we really don't know about the circumstances of Thomas's death. Yes, we hear that he fell off a changing table as an infant. That's pretty much all we get. We don't really know much else. But what do you guys think? Is this Thomas? Is this not Thomas? Is this maybe just Fromville or some other kind of entity playing a trick on him? What did you guys think of this scene? Xavier thinks it's an entity screwing with Jim. I tend to lean that way too. I mean, I suppose it could be Thomas, but part of me is definitely leaning a little bit more like this is something trying to manipulate Jim or do some kind of psychological torment.
Yeah. Well, we got Ankui kids, we got a demon fetus, and now we've got a ghost baby making phone calls. This place is lousy with demonic, like elementary age and below children.
Yeah.
Like, good God.
It puts children in the corn to shame in terms of the creepy child aspect, for sure. It really does.
Somebody's nightmare must have been creepy children, because somebody who died the same way Nathan's was cicadas. Probably Tin Chin's was like a muskrat living on someone's head, hence Julie's haircut. And then now we've got demon children everywhere.
Yeah, it's interesting to think, whose nightmare belongs to who, and where these things are coming from. But yeah, the creepy child aspect of the show has always been one of the creepiest aspects for me. I mean, I just, creepy children. There's something about creepy children that are just 10 times scarier than any kind of adult monster, in my opinion. But who knows? But yeah, entity effing with Jim might seem to be the most likely answer, but who knows? Reincarnation, says Terry. Okay, reincarnation. Yeah, a lot of people were pointing out, even like well before this scene even came out, like even when season 1 and 2 were on, there was some portion of the fandom that were wondering, is the boy in white potentially some version of Thomas? And I always thought that was a pretty interesting theory. I feel like there's really no evidence to really go on indicating that, but I thought it was an interesting theory nonetheless. I like hearing some outside of the box things every once in a while. But yeah, some people are thinking that the boy in white was somehow in some way tied to Thomas. My whole problem with that is how old the boy in white seems to be. He seems to be, at least 40, 50 years old, maybe even older. I mean, first time we see him pop up on the timeline is in 1978, right after the massacre. So I have a hard time believing the boy in white is connected to Thomas in any way. But again, I thought it was an interesting theory. But no, who knows? Some other kind of reincarnation, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's another one where they really need to press Sarah on that, because when they were walking out towards the remains of the ruined tower with Boyd with the torch, she did have that little throwaway line. That little line, I don't think he's a little boy. And then they got distracted by something else, or they got to their destination. I can't remember exactly the circumstance, but they never pursued that line. There might be, we may need to circle back on that one, Sarah. You might want to specify.
What exactly were you referring to, Sarah? Come on, spill the beans there, kid. Snuggy thinks it's not Thomas, a ghost like Abby or Father Cautry. Yeah, some other kind of being or entity kind of returning to screw with Jim's mind. Tabitha says, what part of the last 14 months has been fair? Yeah, I mean, it seems like they had a pretty rough journey in terms of after Thomas died, the kind of their relationship really seemed to kind of fall into shambles. And if that 14-month statement is accurate, that tends to, tells us, the audience, that Thomas died maybe 14 months prior to them arriving in Fromville. Which gives us a little bit of it, a more interesting kind of timeline to think, okay, if Thomas never did die, how old would he be right now? And if that is the case, if that 14-month is accurate, that would stand to reason Thomas would be around, a year and a half, 2 years old if he never died. Which again is, it's still pretty young, but, hearing Thomas's voice on this phone, it sounded like a damn 6-7-year-old kid to me. Like, this did not sound like a toddler by any means. But then again, I'm not very I don't know how accurate my ear is in terms of identifying the age of children's voices. It's not something I usually listen for personally.
It wasn't like that ultra high pitched though. It wasn't ultra high pitched. It did I mean, even if we don't know exactly, we can kind of tell if somebody's a fifth grader versus a literal toddler. Toddlers, wouldn't even really be able to, I mean, they might be able to say some things, and we'll find out a whole lot more as the call continues in episode 3, how exactly detailed his speech actually is. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that will give us a better indication as to what we are maybe dealing with here. Because if we're hearing, goo goo gagas and not much more, then that's one thing. But if we're hearing a kind of sophisticated, conversation coming through, it's going to be even more trippy. I feel. But yeah, manipulation. I tend to think it's probably a manipulation. This was my first thought as well, as A states right here. This was the first thing that I thought of when I first heard it. And this was what I was hoping this was going to be, even before we saw this scene, just when we saw a clip of this in the trailer, when we knew the phone was going to be ringing. I was really hoping that we were going to get some kind of continuation from the voice on the other end of the radio that Jim hears at the end of season 1. But I'm right there with you, A. I feel like it's the same voice he heard the time by the colony house when they tried to connect to the outside world. And again, I do get the feeling this could be the same entity, the same being, or the same whatever, potentially trying to manipulate Jim into, who knows, maybe one course of action or another. Because it's just, I mean, for all of the characters, out of everybody in Fromville, for Jim specifically to get a phone call like this, it's just, I don't know, part of me thinks it is in some way going to eventually be revealed that it is connected to whatever voice he heard at the end of season 1. Because that is such a big question that they really need to kind of lean into and start answering a little bit more of. Who the heck was on the other end of that radio at season 1, and how did they know everything they knew? Mm-hmm. So I'm really hoping we get some kind of continuation to that storyline. And I get the feeling whatever is going on here with this phone call and this potential Phantom Thomas, I do get the feeling that this is where that is ultimately going to be heading. Some kind of answer or some kind of clue that'll point us in a much more accurate direction as to who is on the other end of this line, especially, who was on the other end of the line at the end of season 1. Because again, we got to find that out. That's a big mystery we need to know.
Yeah, and despite all the Jim hate, and that is, I went along with it too. It's still funny to do, but it's how he's written. He's written in a strange way, but along with all the weaknesses that they've written into his character, he is also one of the few guys, that will go out on a limb. He would, him and Jade did the tower. He went out with Kenny, at least looking for something. He's a little more adventurous. He is a doer, not a sit around and think about it guy.
He's a problem solver, at least. You can at least give him that, yeah.
Yeah, so at least he would be one of those guys that, if it is the entity, if it is, some whatever force, he's one of the few characters that, you give him a nudge and he will actually like proactively do something rather than just say, oh my God, I just got nudged. And do, some guys just have visions and do nothing with it. He's one of those characters that will actually at least try to think of something. He might put his head together with his buddy Randall and come up with another plan.
Yeah, what a pairing that was in season 2. I mean, we knew that pairing was going to go nowhere good fast, and boy did it ever. But no, this is the good one. It's Ethan prank calling.
Oh shit! Yeah, he's on the.
That's hilarious. Yeah, fucking Ethan just giving him a prank call. Oh man. But yeah, no, and Nick brings up Jim is, I mean, in terms of having a little bit of a weaker mind, Jim would be, like you said, he is a problem solver in some cases. He does at least act. But, as a few people were bringing up in the chat, Jim's a bit of a mess. Like, Jim's a bit of a freaking mess. And we got a little bit of a glimpse to that. But it's not only Jim that's a mess. It seems like Tabitha was equally a mess. We get that scene, that really great scene from Hannah Chermy as Julie in this episode, where she's kind of telling Jim that she can't become the surrogate parent again, and she specifically says that you and Mom both fell apart after Thomas's death, and there was nobody there to take care of Ethan. So as neglectful as Jim got, it seems like Tabitha was also just as neglectful after the death of Thomas, in terms of paying attention to their remaining kids, which is, again, it's understandable. I mean, I have no idea what losing a child would do to a parent. I couldn't even fathom what that kind of pain does to someone and how they manage to kind of continue waking up every day and going on with that fucking loss. Because again, like it's just goes completely against the natural order of things. Children are not supposed to die before their parents. So I can understand to some degree why Jim and Tabitha kind of fell apart a little bit after Thomas's death. But at the end of the day, though, they do still have 2 other young children to take care of. But no, in terms of having a mind that might be a little bit easier to manipulate, a traumatized mind is always going to be easier to manipulate. And Jim and Tabitha are both dealing with some heavy trauma after this whole Thomas ordeal. So I agree with you, Nick. I feel like Jim is kind of a perfect kind of mind that might be ripe for some kind of mental manipulation tactic, for sure. For sure. And yeah, as same here, Jim is easy fodder to manipulate. Look at all the foolish decisions he's had a hand in this far out. And again, trauma does that to the brain, where it will make your decision making maybe not as sound as someone who isn't dealing with that kind of trauma that's always there in the back of the mind. So no, I could definitely potentially see why an entity or a spirit or something, if someone wanted to kind of reach out to someone to manipulate, I mean, Jim would definitely be one of the characters I would at least consider, considering the trauma that he is dealing with. So I get that. If they are living in another dimension and jumping to other dimensions, it could be an older version of Thomas in another dimension. Nothing would surprise me. No, and now that's an interesting possibility as well, Angela. Because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the thing that's great about From, and the thing that is maddening about From all at the same time. There's just so much we don't know. We could write, in multiple encyclopedias on things we don't know about this show. And again, that makes theory crafting fun. It makes the mystery kind of fun, and unraveling the answers kind of fun. But as you mentioned, it also opens up the possibilities to things that who knows what could potentially be happening, where, I mean, is this some other kind of multiverse version of Thomas that maybe this version never died? You never know. Again, nothing would surprise me. I 100% agree with you there, Angela. Nothing would surprise me when it comes to this show, because up until this point, it has shown us that it is capable of anything.
Yeah, my main man Dale said on day 1, pocket dimension, man. So
yes.
And that's the thing. I mean, as hesitant as I am to I'm not much of a theory crafter just because I want to go off of what the show has given us. And, prior to this season, we haven't been given a whole heck of a lot, which also says, you can't dismiss anything either, just outright. Bit by bit, we'll be able to piece together, maybe eliminate a few things, a few directions to go we can eliminate. But really anything's on the table at this point. Every theory that we came up with, or that anyone had come up with, in season 1, whether it's simulation theory, experiment theory, aliens, you name it, it's all more or less on the table still. Pocket dimension, of course, there's a few that they've talked about. Does that dismiss it because a character verbally addresses it actually in the show, like Jim saying maybe this is an experiment? Because Dale's such a kind of a repugnant character. Just because he espouses pocket dimension, should we dismiss that as a possibility? I don't know. Do it at your peril, right? Dismiss anything at your peril.
Exactly. No, I 100% agree with you. And I feel like that's almost why the writers kind of chose the Dale character to deliver that line. So us as the audience would maybe not give it as much credence as if it came from, a Victor or someone that maybe it might have carried a little bit more weight with. Maybe they specifically put that line for Dale so we wouldn't pay attention to it. I wouldn't be surprised, especially after we hear the explanation of how Miranda was describing what Fromville is to Henry, which very much kind of points to this place existing everywhere yet nowhere, a place that you can fall into from anywhere. And that does kind of almost give you the idea that this is maybe some kind of pocket alternate universe that people can kind of just fall into from anywhere. So yeah, maybe Dale was a little bit more on the money than we gave him credit for in the beginning. And again, I get the feeling that's probably why they gave that line to Dale, so we would discredit it. Yep. They're clever, man. These writers are clever. They know what they're doing. These are people who have worked on heavy mystery box shows in the past, in terms of from a producer standpoint, and other standpoints. Like these, I feel like after seasons 1 and 2 and these first 2 episodes, these writers have more than proven that they're freaking clever, and they know what they're doing. They know how to kind of craft this mystery story to make us think one thing is happening when really something totally different is happening. But yeah, this was a fun one, because who knows, maybe Dale was a little more right than we thought. And it looks like we are going to get our very first look at Dale in episode 3, because a lot of people, I've been getting a lot of comments on my videos for the first 2 episode breakdowns where a few people asking, where's Dale? Where the heck is Dale? We haven't seen Dale this season. And I was wondering that too. I mean, I was like, wow, we haven't actually. We haven't seen a single Dale scene. I mean, we've seen Mari, we've seen just about everybody other than, I think, Dale and maybe Bacta.
Yep.
But it looks like we are going to get some Dale in episode 3 based on the episode 3 stills that were just officially released by Amazon and MGM.
Okay.
So he's coming. Okay. Dale's in episode 3, guys. Dale is coming.
That episode 3 preview was pretty interesting. I hadn't watched it as recently as last night. Then you mentioned that you had posted it on your channel. So I sat down and watched it. And it was a very short one. It was just what they append to the end of an episode, showing you a few scenes, what is going to happen in episode 3. And, again, no real spoiler. It's a progress from where they left off in episode 2. They're planning, they're trapping Boyd's idea of, I'm going to catch one of these MFs or whatever. So I'm sure they're going to talk about it. They're going to put, at least a few people are going to put their heads together, try to come up with a plan. But yeah, Dale's going to pop out. And then we didn't see Bacta even in the funeral. People were looking around for her. Nothing's happened to her. So of course, she'll pop up at some point. We've already seen Clara scurrying out of the diner, so she's made her token appearance. So Bacta will be the sole survivor. Yep.
Yeah, and we're even seeing these new kind of colony house characters that we've never seen before and have never had dialogue before either, in terms of that one girl that was kind of being mean to Fatima outside of the bathroom in episode 1, and
Nikki,
one that was out there trying to make the compost in episode 2. And based off the season 3 trailer, that is one of the few scenes in some of those trailers that we haven't seen yet, is this girl Nikki get injured at Colony House by some means, and we see them, trying to patch her up on the couch. The character that a lot of us thought might have been Julie, because they do look very similar in that trailer scene.
Yeah,
but
and
now
the
based
3-button
on the clothes
Henley.
of this Nikki and
Yeah,
the 3-button, yeah. But now after seeing Nikki and the necklace she was wearing and the shirt she's wearing, I think it's safe to say that that was Nikki that was on the couch. But I thought it was Julie at first too. Like the first time I saw the trailer, I thought it was Julie. It wasn't until I actually caught the trailer on slow-mo and I saw that this person had very short hair that I realized, okay, this is some other Colony House member. This is not Julie. But it did look a lot like her. It did look a lot like her,
and
indeed.
and she simply didn't, just like Henry, they didn't exist in the previous episodes, so we would have had nothing to extrapolate, nothing to go on. It's happened many a time, the same way that we made the kimono connection with Fatima, when and some people still are convinced that the Japanese or the kimono entity, the kimono creature is related to Fatima in some form. Is Fatima old Fatima, new Fatima, dead Fatima, some form of Fatima, and then there's a whole nother branch of the kimono creature theory that it's some sort of something that ties into Japanese folklore, similar to La Llorona in Hispanic folklore, or in indigenous folklore, or Banshee, washerwoman, any of those type of wet women that are associated with water and that type of thing. But it like, I think really Scarlet was one of the ones that has pushed that the farthest, and it makes the most sense with everything that we're being shown. The kimono wraith dripping water in the absence of any other water, divorced from the scene with Elgin, it makes a lot of sense. And again, we have very little to go on, not able to dismiss anything, but at least this season, they have actually cast a human being. So it's a human with prosthetics and CGI over her face, versus what was essentially a mannequin or a dummy or whatever that thing was, that when it was cackling over Elgin as she dunked him. But super cool.
Yeah, it is super cool. It's super trippy, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this one goes. Because I mean, I was one of them. I was among the fandom after just seeing this scene in season 2, and just that isolation alone. I was among everybody else who thought that this could potentially be Fatima related. It looked a little similar to Fatima. The hair was pretty similar. The facial structure was a little similar, and the kimono was another kind of big kind of giveaway that people were connecting it to Fatima, because we do see Fatima wearing these similar kind of kimonos. But then we saw the casting call for season 3, and how they were specifically looking for an actress of Asian or European descent to fill this role for the 3rd season. And now that we actually see her on the screen, we can totally see, okay, they definitely went with a more Asian actress for this look of the monster for season 3, because you look at her here on screen, definitely has a little bit more of an Asian feature vibe to the face, and that fits much better with the kimono, of course, as well. And then you look at how this kind of creature appeared in season 2, totally different, just completely different design. And I get the feeling maybe they did change the design a little bit to move maybe the fandom a little bit more in the direction that this is a little more Asian related and maybe not Fatima related. But again, who knows? It could very well still be connected to Fatima, and that's the beauty of From. Anything seems to be possible. But yeah, looking at this scene in season 2 compared to this, a little different. Well, big difference actually.
But there's no shame. There's no shame in making the Fatima connection, because she was the only person that we'd seen.
Man, it was super similar to Fatima when I first saw her, and I know a lot of other people thought that too. But yeah,
I mean, if we saw a glimpse of a monster in the distance that had a clerical collar on, would be, oh my God, is that Monster Khatri? Because it's
Is
the only
that
priest that
Khatri
we'd seen.
related?
You know, when people have characteristic clothing, characteristic whatever, you know, a hat or anything, then you're going to make that connection naturally. So there's nothing wrong with that. The one thing, I can't remember who it is. It definitely wasn't me, but somebody was saying they really made the connection. And it's so funny how we could take a different element of the same scene and when you put the emphasis on it, it really changes your perspective. Somebody said that they thought the creature that was dunking Elgin was helping him by kind of making him not
Trying to wake him
hear
up.
making him not hear the music box, because hearing it, that's how you got Kenny to get the cicada on his arm that brought that dream or whatever into reality. Thankfully, when Marielle hallucinated, or when Marielle dreamed of Smiley, it didn't bring him back from the dead. But
we're saying thankfully, but now that I'm looking back on it, I kind of wish Mari's dream did bring Smiley back. I miss Smiley. Fuck.
he was definitely creepy. He definitely had the je ne sais quoi of a creep. And the thing is, you know, dunking Elgin, for all intents and purposes, it appeared that she was trying to drown him. You know, that's a negative thing. That's a mean thing to do. So it's got to be she's scary looking, obviously creepy and gross. So it must be bad, right? Well, maybe not. At this point, she might have saved him in a strange way. Almost like there's still the debate of whether the boy in white is good and bad. He literally ends the season whipping somebody out of a lighthouse tower, presumably to her death, you know, for all we knew. And people are like, I don't know, he might be good. You know, it's the only way. He said it was the only way. I mean, I think Ted Bundy probably said that too. He's like, please get in my car. It's the only way.
Go with me if you want to live. No, you make a really good point, man. You do, because like you said, it's very interesting when you see these scenes in isolation without more context, like just seeing season 2. Now that we're seeing season 3 and we're getting a little bit more context for some of these scenes, it does start to paint, you know, in some cases a similar picture, and in some cases a totally different picture. And that's why I'm very similar to you in terms of like theory crafting or trying to guess where the show is going. I like to try and take what the show is actually giving me, analyze that. What are they trying to tell me by this scene? What are they trying to show me by putting this scene here? And that's kind of how I dissect the show. But no, it's very interesting when you start to get that extra context and you realize, okay, that looked totally different now than it looked back then. But in terms of this, like you were mentioning earlier, I mean, just seeing this scene in season 2, it kind of looked like this thing was potentially trying to drown Elgin. But now that we know that the kind of mechanisms of the music box, and now that we're seeing this thing a little bit more in season 3, I guess this is the question that I will ask everybody in the chat. What do you guys think? Is this thing appearing to Elgin because it is ultimately trying to harm him? Does this thing want to kill or torture or drive Elgin mad in some kind of way? Or is this thing potentially either trying to help him or maybe even trying to convey some kind of message to him? Like, is this some kind of awful victim that was killed in some horrific manner that she's trying to reach out to Elgin to let her know what happened to her? What do you guys think in the chat? Is this thing ultimately going to harm Elgin, or will this thing ultimately be here to help or give him some information? Because it definitely is not as clear as it was in season 2 after just seeing her trying to drown him. Now it's like, okay, this thing might actually be trying to help him. I'm kind of even leaning a little bit more into that direction now that this thing is trying to help him or convey some kind of message to him at least.
Yeah, Daiko, don't even worry about it. Kelly, a lot of people are saying help. Doc Hayes trying to help her warn. And it just coincides with essentially the discovery of a new body of water for the entire landscape. So there may be more to that little body of water than it might have fish, you know.
Very true. Yeah, we even hear Kenny say that, I believe, when he comes back to town. He's like, there's a lake, there might be fish in it. Yeah, it's again, and we've seen Elgin up until this point. It seems like his story has been kind of at least tangentially tied to water in some way. it's one of the first things that he asks Fatima when he lands here in Fromville. Is there a body of water somewhere here? Because apparently he saw a body of water in his whatever vision that he saw upon entering the town. And now we're seeing this. Elgin is having all of these dreams and nightmares and run-ins with water and weird water-like creatures. So it definitely makes you think, what the heck's going on here? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, just based off season 2, I would have thought this thing was definitely a more malicious entity. But now, after seeing it in season 3, and after knowing what we know about From and how this show is never really quite what it seems to be on the surface, I'm leaning a little bit more with some of you guys in the chat that I think maybe this thing might actually be here to help, or maybe trying to warn him of something, as Xavier says. Maybe it's some kind of warning that this thing is trying to impart onto Elgin. Maybe there is some horrific kind of event that is coming down the line, and she's trying to prevent it. Maybe again, the possibilities are endless. I'm conflicted, right, Vic? I'm conflicted now. I am conflicted now, like for real. Shit.
Nothing wrong. We'll wait and see. I'm all over the wait and see game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do miss Smiley. Love the creepiness. Me too. I mean, it's again, there's some really great monsters on the show, but in terms of like just freaking Smiley, man, he just had a really uneasy and kind of just unsettling feeling to every scene that he was in. Yeah, nobody did that smile quite like Smiley. I will say that.
We still talk about people like him pulling up, at 10 p.m. or something, pulling up at a McDonald's with that, ready to collect his Filet-O-Fish, and he flashes that big weird smile. People be slamming the window on him until I'm running away.
Right. Imagine being this guy just pulling up to a freaking drive-through menu and just with that smile. I mean, that'd creep me the hell out. I'd throw the food at the guy. Shit. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she's here to help Elgin. She cradled Elgin's face. That's a good point too. I mean, she walks right up to him and kind of grabs his face like that. And Elgin, of course, is freaking out because, of course, he's freaking out. He has no context for what this thing really wants. All he sees is some scary apparition coming closer to him. I'd be scared too. But I get the feeling we might hopefully learn a little bit more about this thing, and that maybe it isn't, there to help. Yeah, trying to help or warn, as Doc Hayes says. Yeah, a lot of people think, yeah, trying to help. Awesome. I don't think this thing means Elgin any harm. Looks like some kind of message, and maybe she even has healing powers, like Robert Saunders suggested. Maybe. I mean, we do know the water as an element itself. Water is very closely tied with healing properties and healing characteristics of similar traits. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely think this thing could potentially just be trying to convey some kind of message to him, for sure. Maybe neither help or harm. She almost looks as she is replaying what happened to her. Ooh, interesting. Almost like some kind of death cry. And we've seen this in many mythologies all over the world. Even some shows have kind of played with this concept in some cases, where some characters, they kind of die in such a horrific and kind of profound manner, where they're kind of left to relive their death over and over and over again in the afterlife, and they're never quite able to really move on. That's an interesting one, Beanne. I mean, could that potentially be what we're seeing here? I don't know, but I like that idea. Yeah. Some kind of spirit guide. I have a theory that since they are in a realm beyond the veil, it is possible that other spirits, entities, might have entered it. She is guiding or sending a message. Very much could be. Very much.
Sarah indicated there's a lot of things around, more than just what we've been shown. A lot of people that used to be here, used to be alive here. If you believe what Sarah's story, essentially.
True. If you believe Sarah, and if you believe these voices that were communicating to Sarah, So, but yeah, if we're to take that at face value, it seems like there have been people that have been kind of trapped here for a very long time, that have been waiting for someone like Sarah to come along that could actually hear them. So yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think it's trying to give a message like the ballerina did with Boyd. What it means, I have no idea. And I guess that's the question. If this thing is trying to give Elgin some kind of message, if it's not trying to harm him, then what exactly is it trying to inform him on? What does this thing want Elgin to know? What does this thing want Elgin to do, potentially? So, I mean, if nothing else, it looks like they're at least setting Elgin up with a much more interesting storyline than he got in season 2. I was really thrilled to get Elgin as a new character. I thought the character has a lot of potential. But I was a little, I mean, his storyline in season 2 was a little bit kind of anticlimactic. I mean, it seems like they're building up this idea that there's one part about this dream that he just can't quite remember. And a lot of us were thinking it was going to be some kind of, nice reveal. And then when we get to the end of the season and he does eventually remember it, it's the same old nursery rhyme that we've already heard, a dozen times up until that point.
Right.
So while it was interesting to at least know that the boy in white was communicating with him, we didn't get that new information. It looks like they're giving him a much more interesting storyline here.
Right. Making him one of really, two people that have interacted in the outside world at any deep level, essentially, with Fromville. The other being Miranda.
And now Tabitha.
Right. But prior to running into the tree in the road, even Tabitha hadn't heard, known anything. I think we never really got a whole lot of explanation about his dream, but he was freaking out on the bus when they were pulling into Fromville. He's like, "Oh, we got to turn around," but by that time, it's already Tuesday.
We can't be here. We can't.
Do you know where we are? Do you? That was a good line.
Do you know where we are? I love that scene because again, it really just showcased that Elgin didn't just know that this place was kind of scary. It almost seems like he knew exactly what this place was right there in that moment. He's like, "Do you know where we are?" Almost like, "Shit, I know where we are. Do you know where we are? We're in some crazy place that we should not be." But unfortunately, he had already seen the tree. It seems like they were already stuck there. And even Bapta kind of has that moment where she's conflicted in season 2 in the bar talking with Jade, saying that, the kid was trying to tell me to turn around. And then Jade kind of informs her like, "Oh, you already saw the tree. At that point, you were already stuck. It wouldn't have mattered if you did turn around."
And Tyler brings up, Khatri heard the voice of God before, but that was more of like prompting him to drive till he got caught. He didn't see any vision, like Miranda was painting images from within Fromville while she was in the outside world, and we still don't know exactly what it was that Elgin had been dreaming, but he must have had some sort of a visual confirmation when he was driving into the town, because that's why he was so shocked to the point of vomiting.
He throws up right on Randall. I forgot about that. Throws up right on Randall. Oh man, good stuff. We got Wolf in the house. What is up, Wolverine fan? Jade is slowly becoming my second favorite character. Ooh, interesting. Okay, nice. Yeah, Jade. I mean, for me, anyone who's been here for long enough, you guys know me. Jade is definitely my personal favorite character on the show, and I just absolutely love everything about the character of Jade, from his quirky kind of hilarious lines, from just stupid little stuff of him walking into a house in a funny manner, to him stealing this poor lady's bike.
It's not quite my Giacometti, but it'll do. Oh, perfect. Is that for me?
Excuse me?
Hey, do you have anything motorized, like a scooter or something?
No.
Okay, this will do. Thank you.
That's my.
This'll do. Thank you. He's just great, man. He really is great. He's just I you get me going. I can start listening to freaking these Jade clips all day.
Oh Christ! Are you people living here now?
Our house collapsed.
What? At least you had one. It's not my fault you broke it.
Hey, take it easy.
You finally get rid of those 3 smelly hippies from Colony House, and now we got you people.
And then the classic one.
Oh yeah, the classic one, the absolute classic.
All right, ding dongs, it's almost go time. Anybody fucks this up, you spend a night in the box.
He's just great, man. He really is just absolutely great. And yeah, I will forever cherish that Jade message that was sent to me on my birthday from Dana and Scarlett. Absolutely awesome.
And I couldn't stand him early on. I mean, that was the way he was written, but I could not stand how just oblivious he was. And it was just like, oh God, get rid of guy.
Yeah.
He really came around.
He did. In terms of like characters, like, and I know I've probably said this multiple times in the past, but in terms of characters that probably have grown the most from how they were when they first arrived here to who they are now, currently at the beginning of season 3, it's hard to say anybody in the town has evolved and changed more than Jade. Because, like you said, he's super rash, super abrasive when he first arrives here in the town. He's I mean,
The immediate question is, how do we get home, right? How do we get out? How do we get out of here? Because unless we know where here is, we can't get out of here. It's like this. It's like hitting a bullseye with your eyes closed, right? You're just throwing them blind. You don't even fucking know where the fucking target is. Maybe it's over here. I don't know. Maybe it's just like with that one.
Whoa.
Throwing it. Come on.
Then he cuts the line. He thought he was in an escape room, like an elaborate escape room.
Yes.
I don't know if you have the whisk clip. I was cracking up so much making that clip, just watching him get beat by Tien Chen with a whisk.
Oh shit! I need to get that one. Yes, I do have it uploaded. I just don't have it on freaking StreamYard. I will get that one for the next stream for sure, because that one has to be added to the repertoire.
Yeah, she whips him once, yells at him some, and then rears back like she's gonna hit him again. He's like, "All right, geez, all right." It cracked me up, man. And another high point for Tien Chen too.
Absolutely,
laying down the law.
Great moment from both of them. Yeah. Yeah, Jade was my favorite when he sat on the porch talking. You know it, Stephanie. You know it. Absolutely. You know me well. That just gave me all the more confirmation that I needed to know that this was my dude. This was my guy, a fellow cannabis connoisseur. Absolutely. Yeah, Jade's awesome. Jade is absolutely awesome. Night in the box. Yes. Night in the box. Absolutely. I like Jade straight away, and I know not everybody did. I know a lot of people had to kind of warm up to Jade because, like you mentioned, Ravener, he was pretty abrasive when he first arrived, and he was kind of an asshole, kind of a dick. So I totally understand people not really liking Jade right at the beginning. I don't know, something about his humor I just instantly really enjoyed, but I definitely could see the asshole side to him at the beginning in terms of when before he finally realized that this place was real, when he was thinking it was just an escape room. He was, I mean, the perfect example of that is, I mean, you get down to this really heartfelt moment in episode 2 or 3, I believe it is, when Frank is addressing the entire town, and Boyd tries to tell Frank, here, take the talisman, go out into the shed, make whatever life you can, and then Frank comes back and he says, I appreciate it, Sheriff, but no, I want to die, basically. And you see that it was definitely becoming a serious moment, a little bit more of a heavy scene, and then Jade just kind of comes in out of nowhere, okay, so dramatic, like thinking it's all one big skit. So you could really see just how disruptive he was when he first arrived compared to, who he is now.
Yep. And then by the time they got to the scene where he was comforting Tien Chen about her husband's death, then it was like, shit, there's a real character under this guy.
There's a person there. Yeah. There's a real person there. And actually, you bring up a really great point, because that is exactly what we saw here. Actually, in episode 2, which was something we kind of knew was coming. We were talking about as soon as we saw the title to episode 2. A lot of us thought that this was in some way referencing the previous conversation that Jade did have with Tien Chen at the end of season 1, right after Tien Chen loses her husband, and they're all kind of faced with the possibility that they might actually leave this place. Jade notices that Tien Chen is feeling a little bit sad about the prospect of leaving because she doesn't want to leave her husband behind. And again, we just get that really great scene between Jade and Tien Chen.
I grew up in France with my grandma. She died when I was 12. I had to come back to the States. I was crying at the airport. This nice lady bought me a soda. I told her what was wrong. She said to me, they come with you when you go. I guess what I'm just trying to say is, come with you when you go.
Just a great callback, really great callback to that nice scene. The last thing that Jade kind of says to Tien Chen as he's walking away is, "You'll come with us when we go." So yeah, good stuff. You can see that there is a deeper side to Jade. He's not just this kind of dry humored, abrasive kind of tech billionaire from New York or Silicon Valley. He's a real character with real depth, real layers. And I think we'll see those continue to get peeled back as these seasons progress. I mean, Jade is dealing with something very heavy at the end of the day, and we're going to see a little glimpse of that actually in episode 3. You mentioned earlier the episode 3 trailer, and in the episode 3 trailer, we hear Jade addressing exactly that. Something is happening at some point. I believe he's talking to Christy, and he says, "You have no idea what I have seen. You have no idea what I have been through." And he's right. I mean, in terms of, you want to talk about psychological torment, as much as they're putting Boyd through, Jade has been through way freaking more in terms of being just psychologically tortured ever since he first arrived with these visions, with this symbol, and being plagued with just not knowing what it means seeing the Ankui children. Something is definitely psychologically draining Jade in terms of trying to convey whatever this symbol might mean, but in doing so, it is actively driving him mad. And I made the comparison in my episode 1 breakdown with Jade's hair. I mean, we've been looking at Jade's hair, and it has been getting absolutely nutty ever since it started. You look at everybody else's hair, and maybe with the exception of Christy, everybody else's hair is pretty much the same in season 2 that it was in season 1. But we see Jade's hair, and it is just continuously he's turning into freaking Sasquatch right before our eyes. And I brought up a comparison with Kingpin, the movie Kingpin, where in that movie, the more that movie progresses, you start to see Bill Murray's hair get crazier and crazier and crazier. And that starts to reflect his mental state as he starts to get more and more unhinged. And I think that's what they're doing here with Jade. I think as these seasons progress, we're going to continue to see Jade's hair get crazier and crazier and crazier, and that will reflect his mental state getting crazier and crazier and crazier along the way. I get the feeling that's what they're doing here with Jade's hair, because it gave me major Kingpin vibes with how just nutty it is, and how nutty he's becoming.
Yeah, that was a really cool introduction to that character too. As he was being tormented with the symbol, he was a little better prepared. But then the symbol, he finds out through investigation or whatever that the last person to have been tortured with that symbol was Christopher. Now maybe Jane's a little more intellectually capable of plotting a strategy to try to unravel the mystery than Christopher was. It does appear from what and again, we're doing a lot of guesswork, but it does appear that Christopher in some way succumbed to the madness that the symbol imparted in him. Jade now has a ticking clock over his head because he knows the final destination. If he leaves the symbol question unaddressed for any reason, he has to figure this out because the clock is ticking for him now. So it added another layer, another element to his character, and kind of drives him forward. He can't afford to sit idle and wait for things to happen or wait for other people to bring him the answers, to the point where he's building string replicas of the symbol and laying on the floor in the bar getting hammered.
Yeah, very It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia-esque was Jade in the first episode, and just getting absolutely hammered at the same time. But yeah, no, he really is such a phenomenal character. Definitely my favorite character. But as Rob asks us here, which is a pretty interesting question as well, and I would love to hear from each and every one of you in the chat as well as you, Ravener. If you guys have one, anyway. If you don't have a least favorite character, then maybe a character whose storyline maybe you like the least. Anything goes. But what is there? If there is one character that you like the least, who is it, Ravener?
Tilly. I don't like Tilly. She's
No, not Fanny Pack Granny. No.
yeah, I knew. I knew. I'm subverting your expectations. I didn't go, but yeah, I don't
She's
know.
pointing the finger of scorn at you right now as we speak. She's laying a hex on Ravener right now as we speak.
She got on my nerves the minute she got off the bus and running around in the damn rain and dancing around, and then like a minute later she was dry. I was like, that's unnatural. And then she got on my nerves and never got off of them the whole time. So yeah.
No, I love it, man. I love it. That's a great answer. That is a great answer. Because yeah, I mean, she was definitely not my favorite character when I first saw her get off the bus, and like you said, she's doing this damn freaking rain dance and all this. But yeah, I don't know if I would call her my least favorite character. It's hard for me to pick a least favorite character. Daryl Seymour says Marielle. That's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, it might have to be Marielle just for the simple fact that she butchered Christie's hair. So that might be a good one.
Do you think this season is like almost like a redemption, because they did the junkie thing and followed that to its conclusion through her withdrawal and whatnot, and presumably like buried that plot line last season. So this one here, where she's helping Fatima and showing some level of competence without the specter of addiction over her. Maybe they're trying to redeem her, maybe redeeming her just enough that people don't actively hate her, and then she ends up being one of the victims, kind of thing. Who knows?
No, I can actually see that. Because like you said, that they showed her at her lowest point. Now they're showcasing her, not at her highest point. Who knows what her highest point is going to be? But they're showing her in a much more favorable light, where she is actively becoming a productive member of the town, helping Fatima and Ellis when they really needed that help. So yeah, no, maybe that's what they're doing. They're kind of showcasing the other side to Marielle, and that there's more to her. That she's not just this kind of loser drug addict. She, she is capable. I mean, she's a nurse at the end of the day. Not just anybody can become a pediatric nurse. So you can that tells you in and of itself, she does have some measure of that. She cares about other people. So yeah, no, I guess we'll see where Marielle's storyline goes. I saw a lot of Julie's in the chat. My least favorite is Julie.
I can see it. I definitely can see it. Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's hard. I mean, a lot of that's the hardest thing about this is they're making these characters, giving them some really unappealing traits. I mean, they're traits that you cannot like, or that we're conditioned in society to not like. And a lot of people, kind of like, there are people that come to her defense. They're like, look, that's how teenagers act. They're very erratic in their moods, and they can love you one minute and hate you the next minute. They could be incredibly disrespectful and selfish and all that stuff. And I know there was a time, although it was, at the dawn of man, there was a time when I was a teenager, and 10 years after that, you wish you could go back in time and slap the shit out of yourself, until you hug your mom, because don't push that meal away, because there's gonna be a time when you don't get that meal. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh man, and you said it well, and I've experienced that myself, because like you said, we've all been at that teenager age where we're a little bit rebellious. We feel like we don't maybe need our parents as much as we used to. We start kind of acting out, but then there comes a point in time in everybody's life where you're going to get a little bit older, and you're going to realize, man, I had the best fucking parents in the world. Or hopefully you come to that realization. I know not everybody has pleasant experiences with their parents. That's a very unfortunate thing that does happen every day. But like you said, I mean, everyone, most people are going to come to a point in their life when they realize, oh man, I do wish that meal was right there now. So yeah, no, it's good stuff. Let's not, it's good stuff.
And it's common to
Gem is another good one.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, that stuff is like, I guess it's common to human experience, because I remember, I'm going to butcher a paraphrase from Mark Twain, but I mean, how long ago was Mark Twain? And he said something like, when I left home at 17, my dad was the most ignorant person I'd ever known. When I came back, 4 years later at 23, I was surprised how much he had learned. It wasn't the dad learning anything. It was Mark Twain maturing,
Yes. Yes, indeed. Perspective, man. More time gives you a much different perspective as it goes on. But yeah, Jim, I had a feeling we'd see some Jims in the chat. It seems like Jim definitely doesn't have the biggest fan base, at least in our chat anyway. We got another one from Marielle. Okay, we got some Sarahs. We got 2 Sarahs, and I could see that. I mean, Sarah she did a lot of heinous shit in season 1, and a lot of people still really just don't trust her. Least favorite is Randall. I could definitely see Randall being some people's least favorite. I mean, he has not painted himself in the best light. We got 2 for Randall. Yeah, he hasn't painted himself in the best light for sure.
Yep. Very much a hothead, very much a dickhead. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. My least favorite is all of the remaining Matthews family. LOL. I like Tabby now. Okay, Greek Girl's condemning the whole Matthews family. All of them. Get them out of here. Each and every one, except for Tabby. We got another one for Jim. We got another one for Randall. We got another one. Put Jim in the box. Yes. Sarah, we got another one for Sarah. Wow, so we're seeing a lot of Sarahs, a lot of Jims. It seems like Sarah and Jim and Randall seem to be the 3 most. I'm ride or die with Victor, so I don't trust Elgin, says Tyler B. Now that's an interesting one.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Victor's not feeling Elgin right off the bat, and it'll be interesting to see if we ever see some more Victor and Elgin scenes, because we have never seen those 2 interact ever again since that Peach Truck scene. I don't think they've ever even been in the same room since that scene. So I hope at one point we do get some kind of Victor and Elgin scene, and maybe we can learn a little bit more why Victor was so hesitant to trust him and why he had these sus vibes about him.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
And Doc Hayes says Nikki. Yeah, Nikki is made to order. They may as well be sizing her up for a coffin now, because she is not long for this world.
No, and Nikki is exactly one of those characters where it's almost like they crafted her so the audience would hate her. I mean, our first appearance of her, I mean, and it's, again, first impressions really are everything sometimes. And our first impression of Nikki is her being, kind of bitchy to Fatima when she's in the bathroom puking her guts out after having, severe morning sickness. It's like, hey, go to the bathroom outside if you got to go that bad, lady. Come on. So no, Nikki was like, again, she was almost kind of crafted for the audience to hate her. So yeah, she might be my least favorite as well.
And her half non-apology in this episode didn't do much. Yeah, didn't do much.
Now he's gonna be a dick. Who says that?
Sorry.
Now he's gonna be a dick.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway. We got Dana Marie, who has been a member for 16 months. Holy cow, 16 months of memberships. Thank you so much, Dana Marie. 16 months, 2 seasons of watching from with the best YouTuber and now friends I could ask for. Thanks for all the support, love, and encouragement. 250K coming soon. I don't know about that last part, but I definitely agree with everything else you said. I don't know about or the best YouTuber. I'll never call myself the best YouTuber ever. That is not something you'll ever hear come out of my mouth.
Yeah, Jeremy prefers influencer. He calls himself an influencer privately.
I'm just a fan. I am just a fan like everybody
He's like,
else.
Gravener, he says, know your role. I'm an influencer. I'm like, yes, sir. I understand, sir.
Shit, you guys are seeing behind the curtains now. Raven are spoiling it. But no, thank you so much, Dana. Again, 16 freaking months. Just absolutely insane. And 2 gifted memberships. 2 gifted memberships from awesome Dana Marie. Wow, thank you so much, Dana, for all of your support and your friendship as well. I mean, you and Scarlett are absolute rock stars. It's been so awesome to see you guys, really put in that hard work, seeing it pay off this season with just creating a really fun show that the whole fandom seems to really be taking to and liking. They had their first 100 live viewer stream the other night, which is an awesome freaking milestone. 100 people in the chat is no small thing. And Raven and I will tell you, when we first started streaming, 2-3 years ago, we would go live and sometimes we would be lucky to have 30 people in the chat. I mean, so for you to hit that 100 milestone, it's super awesome. That's really a special moment. I remember the first time we hit 100 in the chat for the first time, it felt really good. It feels cool to see that number, I guess. Super proud of you guys, and keep it up.
Yeah, there's that moment where you feel humbled that people actually do care about, even if they're just going to put you on in the background while they do dishes or fold clothes or something. You're like, well, there's a billion channels that they could choose from, and they chose this one. So hey, not too bad. Hey, I do want to do a quick shout out to, we have our watch parties on Sunday, and they're growing each week. And we actually reached the capacity of people that we could fit in our Discord to watch a watch party. And then people started boosting the server, and it's entirely, it's an extra expense. So cool. It's beyond everything. I went down the line. We got Lieutenant Hughes, Dana Marie, Kiwi Skirt, Vic, WD-40,
Whoa.
and BK. All of you guys have boosted the server to the point where we can accommodate, I think, 150 people now. It's above and beyond, totally unnecessary. I mean, totally just their own personal generosity for the benefit of everybody else. So I wanted to shout them out by name, and if God forbid I missed anybody, I went down the line and picked all the pink names. That indicates a booster.
Oh man,
I hope I got everybody, and if I missed you, please forgive me, but I think I got everybody. So thank you guys, out loud, out in front of everybody. I want you, to call you guys out. So
no, that is so awesome, so freaking awesome. And like you said, it's 100% not required. The fact that people go above and beyond to really kind of show their support for the channel, the community, the Discord, that really does mean a lot. And I know Ravener feels the same way, because it's not something we ever expect of our chat to support us in that manner in any way. The only thing we like to see is you guys showing up and talking from with us. That is it. Nothing else is required. So to see people go these extra steps and really showcase their generosity is to the channel, to the fandom as a whole, to the show. It is really cool to see. So yeah, each and every one of you, everybody who boosted the server, who helped that out, you guys are absolute freaking rock stars. Because yes, we found out super quick when we did our first watch party for episode 1 that at the current time, our Discord model only allowed around 50 people into the watch party, and that filled up super freaking quick. And there were a bunch of people who are saying, "Hey, the Discord's full." I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know there was a limit to that.
Right.
So now to see this, now that we can fit 150 people in there at once, looks like at least everybody will be having a chance to pile in there if they so choose. So yeah, cannot thank each and every one of you enough. You guys are the best.
Yep.
Absolute best.
Yeah, we're learning this as we go too. Yeah. We're learning as we go. Believe it or not, we didn't hatch out of the egg knowing it all, knowing everything about it. So yeah, we find our way, and we're finding our way together. We're finding our way with you guys, and you guys are banging it in the chat. It is freaking awesome. I do this. I mean, I'll share a little more personal stuff. Jeremy knows if I don't want to do something, I just kind of don't. I'm just not, I really, but I want to be here. I love doing this stuff. If it's not
fun, it's not worth doing.
That's what I tell everybody, man. If it's not paying off, there's a billion channels. Find one that scratches the itch for you. But this is fun stuff, and I love sharing it with you guys every bit. But I guess I can kind of get back on topic.
No, that's cool.
The love fest.
But no, I could not be more happy with the group that has been kind of that it's the small little fandom that has been budding within the fandom here on this channel and on the Discord. It's just I can't thank each and every one of you enough. You guys are the fucking best, absolute best.
Yeah, and it's the people that share, it's the people that like it, the people that share the thing, get it out there to more eyes, so they can join in, man. It's literally the more the merrier here. So,
indeed, all are welcome for sure. But yeah, thank you so much, Dana, for the gifted memberships. Here is your woe. Like, we got a few more. Let me get through these. We got Robert Saunders for $10. Thank you so much, Robert Saunders. Very much appreciate you as well, my friend. Robert's been a rock solid member of the community since literally day one, right when we started covering From. Robert's been here with us, as many of you have. But again, whether you've been here since day one or whether this is your first stream tonight, It's just so awesome to see how welcoming everybody has been. There's no hierarchy in this fandom. Everybody is equal here on this channel, whether it's your first stream or your 100th stream. We love to have you. But thank you so much, Robert. My least favorite character is definitely Jasmine. You make a guy fall in love with you, and then you literally rip his heart out. Yes, Robert. That's actually a really good answer. Now that I think about it, that's a pretty good one. Yeah, I mean, Jasmine, man, and I know a lot of us have really wanted to see Jasmine again ever since she kind of disappeared. We haven't seen her in any other scenes other than that Colony House massacre. So we're all wondering, Jasmine, where are you? Where's Jasmine? Come on, come back to us. Come back to us. But yeah, poor 70s porn stash dude got his heart and his tongue literally ripped out.
Yeah,
But thank you
I
so
think
much, Robert.
Yeah, I think that I think the strike had a lot to do with Jasmine. I think her name was Molly Dunsworth, whose
Yes,
father
that's it.
was the Dunsworth that was in Trailer Park Boys, Mr. Leahy, a crazy comedic character. If you want to see a
Imagine
absolutely
that
low budget,
connection.
absolutely hilarious. But then same way they probably recast the nurse and I think the cheerleader as well this season. When you got a year
Yeah,
layoff and you're in a minor bit part anyway as like a monster or something,
yeah,
if you're an actor, a
yeah,
working actor, you got to take what you can, even if it's a commercial for Applebee's or something. It's you got to pay
yeah,
got to pay the bills.
yeah.
You can't wait. Yeah.
You got it. Sometimes you just got to pay the bills. And like you said, when you're in these kind of smaller background roles that are just kind of extra roles, those kind of actors, it's one of those things where you kind of just need to take any job you can get at any given point. And if you are an extra on a show like this and you're waiting an extended period of time for you to get more work and some other role pops up in between, more than likely that person is going to take that role that is right there and now, that is the guaranteed paycheck. Because it really is. A lot of people look at actors and just think they're all, crazy rich and they're living this lavish lifestyle. And of course, all of the A list and even B list and some of the C list even are. But when you look at the extras on shows, they are pretty much they're the working class of actors. They're not making any more money than I am at my construction job. It's not a very high paying high paying job to have. So yeah, they very much are the lifeblood of the film and TV business. Without the extras, without the people playing the monsters, you wouldn't have complete shows like this. So as well, they might not get paid as much as the kind of main actors. I feel like they're sometimes just as vital as the main cast. But yeah, it's not a very high paying job to be probably a monster on the show or an extra on the show. So if a role comes up in the meantime, yeah, you're kind of going to have to take it and come back to From if you can, or not come back to From if you can't, because these this is how they make their living. And if they're not getting steady work as an extra, they're not eating that week.
Yeah, she definitely made an impact. I mean, there's a lot of characters that we don't remember their names, or we really have to. You have to be a student of
Yep.
the show to really keep it in the front of your mind. So, but Jasmine is one of those that people do remember very quickly. She made a big impact in a very small role. So I wonder if the showrunners ever listen or hear, hey, maybe there might be some demand for that. Pick up the phone and give her a call and see, hey, do you got an opening maybe in mid-August for a 10-day shoot, something like that. We never know what might happen. And just because they're not here
Yeah,
this season doesn't mean they're gone forever.
Yeah, I would love to see Jasmine pop up again at some point in some other season, some other episode. It would be nice to see her return because, yeah, she did make a very kind of profound impact in a very small amount of time. And at that point, she was one of the only monster that had any significant dialogue at all. At that point, none of the monsters had much dialogue other than a word or two.
Right.
So, yeah, Jasmine, come on back. Replicator Rob for $2. Thank you so much, Replicator Rob. Jade coming on the show. Also, Jeremy face reveal. I don't think Jade will be coming on the show anytime soon, unfortunately. I mean, as much as I would love to have that, I'm not expecting it personally. But in terms of the face reveal, I definitely will be getting on camera pretty soon. But I have done face reveals in the past. I mean, I know I've said this in the past, but I used to get asked a lot of time to just post a face reveal. Just it's one of those things. I guess people like face reveals every once in a while. It's okay. I don't try to hide what I look like by any means. I do have my profile picture in my Discord. It's me, but I did do a face reveal a while back. It was right when we were around, I think it was, the 3,500 subs. We were getting a lot of requests for a face reveal. So at 3,500 subs, a long time ago, I did a face reveal, and that is still up on my community page on Facebook. And shit, I'll just pull it up. I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to hide what I look like. I will be on camera pretty soon once I have a better setup. But I just thought people might want to wait a little bit before they see this handsome face. But now this is me right here. This was my small little face reveal I did at 3,500 subs. Just a regular dude. Just a regular dude, I'm afraid. But yes, I will definitely be on camera once I finish making my setup. I'm actually working on it right now. I got a brand spanking new chair. I got to get a better webcam. The webcam I have is pretty crappy. It doesn't come in very clear. So I need to buy a better webcam. And once my setup is complete, I will definitely be coming on camera every once in a while, and you guys will see this pretty mug. I promise. But thank you so much, Rob. Very much appreciate that, my friend. And thank you so much for the $2. And here is your whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, there is the whoa. Thank you, Rob. Let's see what else we got. We got Strega. Thank you so much, Strega, for the 50. Thank you. Our my Lord Jeremy is so humble. Respect. Well, again, I try not to be overly humble, because that can come across as kind of snooty at times. If someone's trying to be like overly humble, that can kind of come off a little bit insufferable sometimes, I guess. So I just try to be me, I guess. And I am usually a pretty happy and fun and positive dude, especially when I'm online, because this is the kind of escapism for me from my normal everyday life in terms of going to work. I know I know many of you know I'm a caretaker to my ailing mother. So yeah, it's nice to kind of come on here and kind of just escape all that for a little bit and just kind of just be myself. So I do try to keep it positive, but you want to try not to be too toxic positivity, as it has been referred to in the past. So I just try to be me. And I know not everybody's going to like it, and that is totally fine. I was very much prepared. As soon as you put yourself out in the public space, you kind of have to be prepared that there's going to be people that like you, and there's going to be people that just don't like you, and that's totally cool. That's fine. That is everybody's free choice to make. But no, I just try to be me, and if people like me, great. If they don't, that is totally fine. But no, everybody has a place to come and hang out here. Everybody is much welcome. But thank you so much, Strega. Wow, and thank you so much again, Strega, for 125. Thank you, everyone, for building this community. I love how I can go. I love how I can go to Fromily after work, where I get to talk to my Fromily bros and sis about theories. Yes, Strega, and that right there is what it's really all about. It's you guys in the chat. It's you guys that have been cultivating this community and this kind of positive vibe that we see here in the Discord and elsewhere. You guys are the ones that we should really be thanking. Again, I can hit a button and go live and give us a place to come and hang out. But unless, it's the people that actually make the place up that we are hanging out at that makes it special. So no, it's, again, you guys are the ones who really make this community what it is. And that is very awesome of you, Strega, to acknowledge that. And yeah, it's just, can't thank everybody enough for all of the positive vibes you guys continue to exude.
Yep.
Very grateful.
Yeah, you guys are the ones. Yeah, you guys are the building the community. We're just kind of here. We're that's our job. It's almost like a service thing. We want to facilitate it, make it happen. You guys come up with so many angles that I never in a million years would have dreamed of. And it's like, wow, okay, I never saw it that way, but it makes it better. And I tell you what, we'll stream 16 hours in 3 days and we'll be burned. And it's like, oh my God. And then like a day or two later, it's like, I kind of want to talk about From again. I don't know. You really, it gets in your blood, man. You want to get it out there. Yeah. And I love seeing what you guys have to say, but yeah, let's get back into the topic.
Yes. No. Yes. Indeed. Indeed. And yeah, it's been again. We had that question about who is your least favorite character on the show, because we often talk about who our favorite characters are, but yeah, we don't really ask often enough who's your least favorite character. And we had some interesting ones. We got some more Trudies coming in. We got Ellis and Fatima both from Xavier Anderson. Oof. Ellis and Fatima both our least favorites. We got another Jim. We got a Christie's hair. I'm surprised we didn't see more Christie's hair as the least favorite character, but we did see some Mari's. So I guess that's very, very similar. But yeah, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Jim's story needs to liven up a bit. I can't lie. Yeah, I mean, there are some storylines that you would like them to kind of progress a little bit more, and there are some that are just giving us everything we could ask for and more. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of scale goes on to balance for the rest of the season. Whose storyline kind of gets pushed to the forefront, whose storyline kind of falls a little bit to the wayside. What is this season ultimately going to be focusing on? Season 1 was very much focused on setting up this world, building up these characters, and presenting these monsters as the main threat, along with the mystery aspect of the show. Season 2 was very much, now it's time to deal with this weird psychological aspect with this cicada entity, these worms, all this Nightmare on Elm Street vibes we were getting in season 2. So now we're in season 3. What exactly is going to be the overall kind of tone of season 3? What will be the main threat this season? Will it be the monsters again? Will we meet some other kind of something new that we haven't seen on the show up until this point, a new entity or a new kind of monster that the town is going to have to deal with? What exactly will season's 3 identity be by the time the season is done, I guess. But we will see. We shall see. Oh, we got a Donna for a least favorite. Eesh. She thinks her shit doesn't stink. Boyd had to sling his beloved bell across the room to put her in her place. Yeah, he did. He whipped that freaking bell, his beloved bell. But yeah, no, it's Donna seems to be a heavy fan favorite, for the most part. But there are some people that don't like the Donna character, and again, that's what's so fun about the fandom is we're all watching the same show, we're all watching the same characters, but we all see it from a totally different point of view, our own perception based on our own kind of experiences in our own life, how we see people. And then that's what's so fun for as big a favorite Donna can be to a lot of people, she could be the least favorite to some other people. And again, that's the fun about having these discussions, because we don't all think the same way. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Really hate
I can
Dale.
see it.
Woe
Yeah,
is
she's
me. I'm the victim.
Dale, yeah.
Good
Oh,
old
but
Dale.
so I just love when they were loading up the last of the veggies, and he's sitting there leaning on the pillar at Colony House, chomping on a green bean, watching people work, and it's like, oh, you're such a little shit, Dale. He just, I don't know, the kind of you love to hate, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely the guy you love to hate. And we've brought this up a lot in the past in terms of, actors that end up catching like a lot of hate in the real world. Like the real person that plays a role ends up catching like a lot of hate online because they're so good at their freaking job. We saw it on Game of Thrones with the actor who played Joffrey. He was getting all kind of nasty death threats and things. Like the actual actor, Jack Gleason, was getting all kind of death threats and nasty stuff sent to him simply because he was good at his job at playing a villain. We saw it happen with House of the Dragon after season 1, where a lot of people are kind of treating the actor who played Kristen Cole in the same manner. So yeah, you want to be able to kind of separate the two, the character from the actor. But when you do just really when you can't stand a character like that, that just tells me that this person is killing it. They are doing their job and they're doing it well.
Oh yeah, he was so Joffrey was so just arrogant and wormy. What a little shit, just a punk. And yeah, you couldn't stand him. And the stuff that he did, he's like cowardly whenever he didn't have a huge, somebody like a bodyguard to reinforce him. But then when he did have the backup, then he was all about, throwing the weight around. Oh, it's just a classic perfect villain. Absolutely perfect. And lived up to it and tortured poor Sansa early on. Just yeah. But yeah, evidently the dude was perfectly good. Yeah, a perfectly good guy. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and again, it's going to be good to finally see Dale. I mean, a lot of us have been wondering where the heck is. Yeah, I forgot about that Dale guy. That guy's my least favorite, says Samuel. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us have. I mean, it's totally understandable to forget Dale because we haven't really seen much of him. We see he gets, he stabs Ellis in season 2, and then pretty much the remainder of the season he's locked in Donna's room, apart from scooping Randall up out of the forest in that one scene. But here we are, season 3, about to get into the 3rd episode. We haven't seen Dale yet, but based on the trailer and the stills for episode 3, Dale will be in this 3rd episode for the first time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm looking forward to seeing him again. But yeah, it's easy to remember that or to forget him, I suppose. Episode 3, I predict Fatima will dive headfirst into the compost pile to grab and munch the most rotten pile of fruit at the bottom of the heap. You will only see her legs sticking out.
Scrooge McDuck, yeah, swimming in it.
Yes, I love that. That is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, just you see her feet fucking dangling out the top, just kicking and screaming. Oh man, that'd be gold. That'd be absolute gold. Angela E, that is great. But no, I think you're absolutely right in terms of her continuing to kind of be drawn to this rotten food. And I mean, a lot of you guys, anyone who was here for the watch party in the Discord or has seen my videos right after the episode aired, my first thought was, okay, maybe this rotten food was put here specifically for this reason. Because we're wondering, why is the land only right here near Colony House being kind of quote unquote poisoned against them? We've seen in other places everything is growing fine, including all the food that Jim and Kenny find. So it's not the entire place that the land has been turned against them. It's only in this one area, it seems. So that tells me that, I mean, at first I thought it was just another consequence of what Fromville was taking away from them for all of their meddling in terms of all the characters trying to escape and Tabitha actually escaping. It seems like conditions are going to get worse and worse the more people try to look for answers. So I thought the rotten food was just another symptom of that at first. But now after seeing this, I am definitely convinced that this rotten food was put here specifically to nourish Fatima and the baby, because we're seeing Fatima is not able to keep any kind of normal food down. So if that is the case, I guess the question is, what the heck is going on here with Fatima? What is going on with this baby? Is it a normal human? Is there something a little bit kind of supernatural going on with this pregnancy? What exactly is going to happen to Fatima? And what do you guys think about this pregnancy? What about you, Raven? Or anything kind of pop to mind? Do you think this is going to be normal, or do you think this is just more sign that Fatima is in very dangerous territory?
Well, yeah, the first instinct was that they're going to try to cop out and maybe call it pica or something, and people brought up that pica is an eating disorder where you eat non-food items like starch, just raw starch, or paper, or any kind of thing like that, some soil, anything like that. I don't think they're going this direction. I think the active decay, the active decay and the massive rot of all the crops at one time. And my first question when you brought that up, that maybe it was to service her baby that's nourished on rotten things, I was like, okay, well, great, but this is a very singular instance where she found this food and was able to do it with nobody around. I mean, she's on the porch of Colony House. The question was, how long is she going to be able to do this secretly? Because right now, only her and the viewers are the only two that know this, very much like Jim and the phone call. Him and the viewers are the only people that know about it. As we find out in the preview, she ain't gonna be able to keep it under wraps for very long. So
nope. And isn't it funny, of all of the characters that are going to catch her eating this rotten food, it's potentially going to be Fanny Pack Granny of all the people in the world that are going to see her doing this. Like,
why wouldn't
just to add more suspicion onto Fanny Pack Granny? Why don't you?
Yeah, she's literally everywhere. So why wouldn't it be her there too? She just pops up at the everywhere she shouldn't be. Not suspicious at all. Tilly.
Totally not sus. Yeah. Again, it's someone said I should put it on a shirt the other day. My little catchphrase: you can't ignore the sus. You just cannot ignore the sus. But yeah, it's again, they're almost overtly going out of their way to paint Tilly in these kind of compromising positions. So we, as the audience, maybe do kind of question the ambiguity of it. Is she a little bit sus? or is she just this quirky kind of concerned grandmother type? I don't know. I feel like it could go either way. But yeah, Fatima is eating dead things to feed the death inside of her. And again, yeah, what exactly is going on inside of her? If this is the case, if she needs to feed on literal death and decay, what is that saying about whatever kind of nasty entity is growing inside of her potentially? And welcome, Rob, the replicator.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's
Not
that?
man. Talking
Hello,
from.
chat.
Great timing.
Yes.
Great timing, bro. We were actually, and I'd love to hear your take on this, or if you have it, what kind of popped into your mind. What is up with Fatima and the rotten food? Do you think this is more evidence this baby is going to be a little more than human?
I mean, that's the story they're selling, isn't it? That's what you're led to believe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows though?
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Like you said, this show does kind of throw us for a loop where every once in a while they're overtly showing us one thing to make us think this, when really something else is happening entirely. So on, at first glance, it looks like this baby is going to be, not quite right. Maybe not all human, maybe a little bit dark, maybe a little bit evil, maybe monstrous. But what if it's the total opposite and it turns out to be not the case? I mean, you bring up a good point.
I mean, rotten fruit in this world could be good for you. Who knows?
This is Fromville at the end of the day. We have no idea what's going on with this freaking place.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, no, her baby will eat her, says Terry.
Yeah, I wonder if her teeth will like solidify once she starts getting nutrients, because they said that the malnutrition was why her one tooth fell out.
Ooh, yeah, maybe now that she's getting the actual kind of intake that she needs instead of just rejecting regular food, will she start to become a little bit stronger? I was thinking that too, but I mean, this is why I feel like I really wish I never read the episode synopsis before the season starts, because now we do kind of all know that she is going to continue to get worse as the season progresses. So again, I don't know if I'll be doing that again for season 4 when season 4 comes around. I might purposely avoid the episode synopsis next year, because it really
I didn't know this. I'm not reading the synopsis.
Yeah, I went through them.
Yeah,
I went through them, and then it's like my brain was like an Etch-a-Sketch, and it just all that information went away. So I didn't really process it. I guess it didn't sink in.
I'm not even looking at it again next year. I'm done with the synopsis. I want to go in clean next time. It's tough running a YouTube channel because naturally there are going to be just big spoilers that come into the comment section. And when I do see those big spoilers pop up, I try to delete them so you guys don't have to see them. So it's one of those things where sometimes I kind of have to sacrifice seeing these spoilers just to keep them from, people on my channel seeing them. And that's something I totally do not mind doing. I would much rather me see a spoiler ahead of time and be able to delete it so you guys don't get spoiled. I'm totally cool with that. I mean, yes, it kind of sucks, but it's okay. It's a risk I'm willing to take, putting on a YouTube channel. But yeah, just me personally, next year, I think I'm going to stay away from the synopsis. I don't think I'm going to read them ahead of time because it gave away way too much. Too much. Now that I'm looking back.
Episode titles is probably about as far as I'd go, but yeah, I didn't really want to go farther than that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see what else we got. Pregnant women do have weird cravings, so it could be a red flag, but maybe could be a clue too. And yeah, there were a lot of people that were bringing that up as well. I mean, just because it kind of looks weird on the surface, her eating this rotten food, a lot of people did bring up that, women do kind of sometimes crave the weirdest and strangest shit when they're pregnant. Yeah. Sometimes that happens.
But that's like pickles and ice cream, though. That's not rotted vegetation.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I think the baby is craving rotten food because the baby is a creature that's going to kill her, says Terry. Yeah, and a lot of people are wondering if this is going to be like, some kind of birth of another monster. We have been seeing an interesting kind of trend on the show up until this point where when a member of the show, a member of the town, when a human member of the town gets killed off, they tend to kind of replace that lost number with a new arrival showing up in town. But now we're kind of on the other side where we have a death of a monster. could the death of Smiley in some
Oh.
way kind of make a new monster and some, on the other end to kind of replace the monster they lost? Because we've seen that happening on the human side plenty of times where they're actively putting new people into the town when people die. Could we be seeing the same on the other end? Could we be seeing the birth of a new monster to fill the role that Smiley left, or the number that Smiley left?
That's interesting.
Yeah, could be. Could be. Fatima is going to try and hide it until she sees the meat, and that's how she finds out it's tainted. Maybe she warns them and has a hard time explaining how. And yeah, a lot of that was another interesting question that popped up when this episode premiered as well, because not only do we see this nasty, rotten scene of her eating all this food, but literally the next scene after it is Donna butchering the cow. And one thing we saw previously in episode 1 is the monster cut this cow's throat. And I guess that has left a lot of people wondering, could this meat in some way be tainted from the monster's slash? I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's really hard to know because we haven't really seen any instance where the monster's claws have any kind of debilitating effect or poisonous effect. But then again, we've never seen anything scratched by a monster and lived to tell about it. So,
Right.
like I brought up last week, I think Boyd's shoulder will be an indication as to what. I think we'll get that answer through Boyd's shoulder. Obviously, he got scratched by one of the monsters. He's lived to tell about it. If we start to see some weird kind of infection set in on Boyd's shoulder, then maybe we can start to think that maybe there is something more than just a regular claw bite. But if Boyd's shoulder doesn't get all infected and it's kind of just a normal wound, that I think will give us the answer that there is no poison or anything in these monsters' claws. But up until now,
Okay.
we really don't know. Is this tainted meat or is it edible? I don't know.
Yeah, and I was wondering the opposite direction, like maybe they'll find out, and I love that idea that Fatima is the one that by her taste for unwholesome things, that will reveal that the meat is tainted, and then that'll set a clock for Boyd, and that'll be another problem Boyd has to solve within X amount of time, or else whatever consequence happens. It's another thing that just they add to it. I thought the minute that the milkman slashed the cow, I brought that up. I think it might have been on Scarlett and Dana's show with the first one with those guys, and it's like, well, what if that it makes it all. What if it does taint it in some way, makes it unusable? Because not only are they right now, all it meant was, they have to harvest that cow, like Donna said, before it goes bad. It was unplanned, but not entirely a horrible thing. But if they take all the meat from that cow off the table, that's a double whammy, really.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Especially, I mean, they're lucky they got bailed out a little bit with everything Kenny and Jim found. But I mean, who wants to live on cabbage and beets forever? I mean, I want some meat.
You're better off just running into the forest at that point.
Really, right? Yeah, good stuff, guys. Yeah, if the baby comes out smiling, I will pass out. And that's I said something similar too. I was like, if this baby is born with ginger hair and a gaping smile, I'm gonna lose it. Because it's just, I don't know, man. Yeah, what if Smiley is being born again, as CT5 says? Who knows? Some kind of reincarnation of Smiley to kind of put him back at play. I don't think that's the case, but that would be pretty cool.
If nightmares come to life when you die, what was Smiley's nightmare?
Ooh, yeah. What was Smiley's nightmare?
You guys probably already talked about it, but what did you make of the whole Tabitha and Victor's dad in the basement scene?
I thought it was nice that we at least got a definitive answer to at least something that I was wondering for a very long time. And that is, how exactly did Miranda know everything that she knew? It seemed like she knew about the Onkui children. She knew about the lighthouse. She knew about some kind of escape and a way out of Fromville. It seemed like she knew a ton about this place, and we're not quite sure how she knew everything. But now at least we did get that definitive answer that she was having vivid visions and hearing voices of this place long before she was even stuck there. So I think the question from there is, Did Miranda willingly, actively try to seek out Fromville? Did she get stuck here in purpose because she thought she was supposed to go there to save the children? And if that's the case, why did she bring her own children with her and endanger them like that? Or did Miranda maybe just get, sucked in there one day when she was driving the kids to school or something? That is the next question I'm wondering. Did she actively seek out to get stuck in this place and knowingly bring her children with her?
And this was a very cool question because we even saw in the comment sections that people have very strong opinions about this, and they don't. Some people do not feel. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Some people did not feel that Henry was exonerated. That his whole situation. Again, we're only going off of what Henry told us. That I mean, the show showed us it. But we're only going off of his account, and some people were suspicious of his account. Some people are still suspicious of Donna's account. There's things about her story, her origin story that don't match up. So some people weren't sold on Henry. I tended to believe it. I tended to take it at face value, just because I didn't think. I'm really coming around to the idea that the screenwriters, there's. And we kind of touch on it time and again, that there's not that much screen time to waste on a lot of red herrings that aren't going to be satisfying and paying off. They might be a minor twist, or it might be somebody, oh my gosh, that guy's lying to you, but it ultimately doesn't move the story forward or enrich the story in any kind of way. Having Henry be deceptive that wouldn't really make it better or anything like that. So I did. Yeah, I did seem to think that we see Victor in the clothes, because somebody said that they packed all the kids' clothes and all their belongings and ran away while he was at work. Victor's wearing the same shirt.
Yeah,
Victor's wearing the same shirt.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and then in the not only in the root cellar when Victor's having his flashback, he's wearing that shirt, but he's also wearing something. It's almost a Sasquatch photo quality, but when he's walking in the background, when they discovered the picture of Christopher, the little Polaroid where they first identified Victor in the background, child Victor, Tien Chen and Jade, that he's also wearing that kind of checkered shirt. So I think he is really, at least at the 10-year-old stage, he's wearing the same change of clothes and every time he appears, which again is only 2 instances, but for me that's more than enough to put it to rest, because I'm really, to explore something or to think something beyond that, I'm going to need a little bit more than just I just don't think so. It's got to be more.
Yeah, well, this is exactly one of those instances on the show where I try to take what the show is actually giving me and not kind of lean into the what ifs that have little to no evidence to back them up. And yes, not only did Henry come across as someone who was just a regular grieving father, and I suppose, do you believe Henry or not is up for debate? I guess it doesn't seem like it's up for debate with many people, maybe kind of just one, but it seems like it seems like not only that, but you also have to look at the surrounding evidence as well. There's a lot of surrounding evidence that points to this guy simply being a grieving father who lost his family. And again, a lot of people saw him with the 6-pack of beer in the first episode, and they instantly thought this is some kind of abusive husband-father role. And again, that is just such an overused trope that we see in so many film and movies that I am kind of glad they are sticking away from that trope, and I do believe they are. Because again, all of the evidence that I am seeing points to Henry simply being a grieving father who lost his family under unknown circumstances and has no idea what has happened to them 40, almost 50 years later. And again, not only do we get that conveyed from his emotion, his just raw emotion that he is conveying, but we also see other surrounding evidence. We go up to Victor and Eloise's room. He has kept it absolutely spotless for 40 plus years. All the pictures still on the wall of his family. All of this evidence is pointing to this is someone who is grieving, someone who lost their family, not someone who was some kind of abusive drunk who drove their family off. I'm not seeing any evidence to support that, but I am seeing plenty of evidence that points to him just being a grieving dad. So that's kind of my take on it. Again, I could be wrong. You know, we could be wrong. There could maybe he could be revealed to be this kind of sinister, abusive husband kind of figure. That's totally possible. But in terms of what the show is actually giving us, there's really no evidence to back that up yet. Even to the point when he kind of puts the gun down, he's like, you know, you can see how awkward he is. He's like, you know, I bought this years ago. I never even had the heart to even load it, let alone shoot it. It's like this is like everything is pointing at this guy just being a normal father who lost his family, not that he drove his family off in some fit of rage or something. But again, I guess we'll have to wait and see more.
I think that was I really think that was the extent of the subverting expectations, or the switcheroo that they did, was when she woke up and he was pointing the gun at her and she's like, I need to go, and he's like, you're gonna sit right down. And we're like, oh shit, this guy is something. And then it turns out he's a total pussycat. The gun isn't loaded.
Yeah.
You didn't have the gun until after they were already gone, all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, okay, wow, yeah, they had us going for a minute. We didn't know what his personality is like, and then come to find out, and now he's feeding her soup and taking her down, and you know, you're going to want to come downstairs and see this as he gradually and essentially we knew the measure of his character when he didn't turn her into the police, that he told the police that, you know, just told them a story and had them go away. That's when we knew, okay, this guy is an ally. This guy is going to move Tabitha's story forward and be a helpful person, not a hindrance. So,
and that's probably why he bought the gun too. He probably bought the gun to, you know, end it all, and just he couldn't go through with it at some point.
I didn't think about that.
That's actually a really good possibility. I didn't even really think of that, Rob. But now that you mention it,
it has to be, doesn't it? Like you said, he bought it after it all happened, and he clearly probably couldn't go through with it because he needs to still know what happened. So he's probably still hanging out for that one day he finds the answers.
I like that. I didn't even think of that, but now that you mention it, I think that fits perfectly with everything that this guy is going through. Yeah, like it seems like, you know, why did the writers throw that specific line in, that they specifically told us that he bought this after they disappeared? Is that because he bought it for some kind of protection, because he was kind of trying to find who maybe kidnapped them? Or is it a little more likely that he was maybe driven to the point where at some point he was getting no answers? Nobody was believing him. I mean, I imagine he even says he told the investigating detective about all the weird visions Miranda was having. I doubt they listened to any of that. So maybe it got to a point where he was just like, enough is enough. My family's probably dead and I want to join them. Boom, and let's end it. And maybe he just didn't have the heart to do it because, like you said, he wasn't sure. No, I like that, Rob. I think that's very plausible. Plausible.
This is like just a small detail, and I might be wrong on this, but I thought it was really interesting how she's like, look on the internet, you know, this is my family that they've disappeared. And then she's like, what about Boyd's family? You can look them up too. But then that didn't happen. And again, takes me back to Boyd's wife. Is she actually really dead? I don't know. I want to know. Tell me if she's actually dead in the real world, man.
Yeah. Well, what was your answer last week when you asked that before? When she dies, does she just, the corpse just drop into the real world somewhere, and they find it? Maybe.
I don't know.
Is it out in the street, like the last place she left? It's kind of a good question too. Huh?
Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, no, it's very interesting stuff. And yeah, glue guns and roses, and I believe Tyler B were mentioning something in the chat a little while ago that I very much agree with. I mean, we see Victor has the lunchbox with him, and not only does Victor have the lunchbox with him when they get stuck here in Fromville, Eloise also has her drawing stuff. You know, what if it was just them? Miranda was simply bringing them to school one day, and that is when they got stuck here in Fromville. That's why he has the lunchbox. That's why she has all her drawing stuff. Maybe it was just, you know, they simply got stuck here on the way to school. Because again, I have a hard time believing that Miranda actively sought to get stuck in Fromville and brought her children with her, knowing how dangerous the place was, because she knew how dangerous it was before she even went there. She recounted the story to Henry about people that have been stuck there for a very long time, fighting a battle that they can't win, but they keep fighting anyway. They lost hope, so they hold on to each other. So Miranda knew well before she got stuck here that this place was dangerous. So for her to actively seek it out and bring her small, teenage children with her, yeah, that leads me to believe that I don't know if she definitively, was seeking it out on her own, and maybe she kind of just got stuck there, like they're saying here. Like maybe one day they're on their way to school and they kind of just got pulled in. Maybe I think that's a little more likely than her actively putting her children in danger like that.
Well, I mean, it's clear that this place seeks out people, because there's no way that Christie's girlfriend would just happen to be on a bus that gets sent there. I mean, this is like zero chance. So it's actively bringing people to it, which is crazy.
Yeah. And again, it does kind of point to this place having, some kind of consciousness or sentience, for lack of a better term, or some other kind of consciousness or sentience or deity is in control of the place. I tend to think that Fromville itself, the forest, the town, like this whole place, I tend to feel like the place itself is alive. It does have its own consciousness. It does have its own kind of, mechanisms for doing things. It gets angry. It gets upset. It doesn't want people leaving. It doesn't want people pushing too hard for answers. When it does, it pushes back in some very definitive and scary ways, even. But that's just my take. I mean, there could also be, the other aspect where there is these two kind of, one or multiple kind of entities or deities out there that are kind of locked in kind of some kind of eternal struggle for control of the town. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute when we look at the paintings in the basement. But first, before we did that, I would be remiss if we did not touch on the Kenny scenes that we get here in episode 2. I feel like, and I know Ravener, you pointed this out super early on, that this was one of the strongest scenes that Kenny has had on the show up to this date. And I very much agree. I think between this scene and the scene between Boyd and Kenny in front of the cave, this is some of the best acting we have seen from Ricky He on the show up until this point. And I gotta say, man, this was the biggest gut punch of the show, from Kenny and Jim to start the episode off the way they did, finding all the food, bringing all the food back to the town, the triumphant heroes return, they save the day, only to get hit with this as soon as he gets back. The way he played it was beautiful.
Yeah, just whips off emotion. And again, the From is the strongest, and I have said this always, and I'll say it continuously. It's always the strongest when you're processing what's going on at the same time as the characters. I really like the first person POVs. So I always refer to the Elgin van scene when he's driving Ellis into town after Dale stabs him. And then, then in this season, the scenes where the nighttime scenes prior to the barn scene, the chase and the hiding from the monsters and all that stuff. When you're in the moment and you're processing this at the same rate as the characters are, and you're not distanced, you're not backed away, making judgments and, oh my God, this person's stupid. Oh my God, I would have done this. I would have done that. You're there in the moment and stuff is happening. This one was and it's masterful screenwriting, masterful acting, because this isn't an action scene. This is a purely emotion driven. Yeah. And they still did it. They still got you into that moment. You're triumphant. He's got, bags. There's cabbages. There may be fish in the lake. It's, guys, we're saved. And then everybody's kind of like looking at the ground, looking away. Everybody's they aren't being lifted up on the townspeople's shoulders as the heroes. Then Jim's like, where are my kids? And Boyd's like, your kids are okay. And then, but nothing for Kenny. And he's like, where's my mom? It's super suspicious, and everybody's kind of like just not wanting to make eye contact. Nobody's wanting to look. Yeah. And then he's just like, and he knew it's that I mean, anybody who's had a parent who's died, anybody who's had any kind of tragic news, life is chugging along, completely mundane, completely normal. Then you get that phone call, and it's like, oh fuck, everything for that day changes. It's like the clock stops, and then you're like, oh my God. And then everything starts from that moment. But God, it was so heartrending. He's calling out to that empty house, and first it's in English, and then he reverts to Cantonese, and he's like, Mom, I'm back. Where are you? And we know, man, there's nothing there. It's like, yeah,
and
man.
it ties back to the last episode where they were killing Tien. That's her name, yeah, Tien.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Boyd is reciting what she's saying to him, so he remembers it for when he has to tell Kenny. I thought that was pretty sick, man. That was amazing.
That was actually my favorite scene of the entire episode, because like you said, we get that brilliant kind of setup right in the beginning where we see Boyd just all night, probably for hours on end. He was probably just in that same position, just trying to memorize her last words so he could convey it to Kenny later on in the episode. And then later on, when we do get to that cave scene, the payoff is just, it's one of the best payoffs for a very good setup that we've seen on the series to date.
What are the bottles for?
I'm going into the tunnels. I'm gonna find those things. And I'm gonna burn every last fucking one of them.
Okay.
Okay, what?
Okay, let's do it. Let's go.
Victor and Tabitha said they're everywhere down there.
Yeah, Jade went down there. Clearly saw some disturbing shit. What he didn't see, creatures. A single one.
There's the one thing I do know. This is how they want us. Angry. I also know this. Hey, if we find them, there's a good chance we are not coming back. But if this is what you want to do, I will go with you side by side, and we will take out as many of those motherfuckers as we can.
How alone she must have felt.
Hey. She wasn't alone. It made me watch. Hey. She was strong, Kenny. She was strong. Listen to me. She was brave. She looked at me and she did not take her eyes off me. Before she died, she said, Oho chuguko yiga takochi gela. No, I don't even know if I'm saying this right.
Take care of him. That's what it means. Take care of him. He'll be alone now.
Come here, man. Come here. It's okay. I got you, bro. Hey, let's go back, okay?
Dude, this is hitting me again. I've seen this literally a dozen
crazy.
times, and it's hitting me. It's like, fuck, dude.
It's just...
The writing and acting on this show is so insane that you don't even believe it's a TV show. Like, you believe it's real. I mean, and that is like incredible. So they just do such a good job.
Yeah, that hitch, that pause as he processed what Boyd was saying, and you could see the wheels spinning for a second as he put it in, as he translated the Mandarin, and it was like, oh my God, it was so, Rob, you were dead on. It was so real. It was exactly what somebody, like we were watching somebody have that experience. Boyd, again, man, the man for all seasons. He's who the person around him needs to be at any given moment. Yeah. I swear, I think they got a little bit shafted with award season because of the strike and this and that, and maybe not because it wasn't the biggest show ever. But I swear, if Harold Perrineau doesn't get some kind of recognition from the Emmys, and the last time it was Victor, we thought Victor might have needed some recognition. I think if Kenny he doesn't get recognized, it's time to find out who votes for the Academy and just start dealing, just maybe a jab slap, but like paintbrush them, slap some sense into them, because these are the kind of performances that TV is craving. TV needs more of this stuff.
Yeah. Indeed.
Especially when there's so
More of
much
this shit.
crap out there on TV. Like, this is like a shining light. Like, this is what TV is meant to be like.
Yeah, this is what TV can be when you have
Yeah.
all of the right places and all of the right pieces and all of the right places going into a production. This is how good TV can be. But I wanted to point this out real quick. I'm super heartbroken to see this. Alyssa Ann says it's so true. Unfortunately, I lost my mom not too long ago. I am so sorry, Alyssa Ann, to hear about that. That is absolutely devastating, and my thoughts and prayers are 100% with you, your entire family. The whole Fromily has your back. I hope you know that. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always here. But I'm so sorry to hear that. That is just absolutely heartbreaking. And just how close I am with my own parents, and taking care of my ailing mother. I know how close to home scenes like this can sometimes hit. So I'm so sorry for your loss, and just know we got your back, whatever you need. And sorry, man. So sorry.
Yeah. I've lost both of mine, so it's never easy. It's one of the shittiest things about growing up. You grow up, you grow old, and then suddenly the person that was there for you every second isn't there, and it's like the void never goes away. But keep them in your mind, keep them in your heart, and it's so trite to say they'll come with us when we go, but there's a hell of a lot of truth to it too. So
there is, there's some good truth to it. I mean, so sorry, Alyssa. So sorry to hear that, man. But I'm so glad to have you here with us. You're an awesome member of the Fromily, and we got your back.
I kind of wish they did go into the tunnels, though, man. To be honest, I kind of
I
want to see them burn some monsters.
Me too, man. I honestly Justin was asking that exact question in the Discord later on that night. Were you a little bit disappointed that they didn't go into the tunnels? And on first glance, no, I wasn't really, just because the payoff of this scene was so much better, in my opinion, than them actually going into the caves. But after seeing this scene and after kind of marinating on it, I wouldn't want them to change a thing. But yes, part of me would have really liked to see what the heck would have happened if they did go down that caves, or if they even would have seen anything. And I feel like Boyd kind of already set that question up, whereas, Kenny mentions that when Tabitha and Victor were down there, it was filled with them. There were monsters all over the place. Yet when Jay goes down there, not a single monster in sight. So Boyd, then puts forth the possibility that maybe they migrated and went somewhere else when Tabitha and Victor found out where they lived during the day, or maybe they just went deeper into the cave system. We have no idea how vast these cave systems are at the end of the day. So at least we would have got a little bit more of a definitive answer as to, are the monsters still down there, I guess, if they did go down there and didn't see any. So it would have been nice to see them go down. And maybe we will. Hopefully at some point later on in the season, we will see somebody return to these caves for some reason. But it would have been nice to kind of see.
And I did love the scene in the bar too, when Kenny was loading up the fuel or the alcohol into the drugs. He didn't, and because that was how I felt kind of when he found out about Boyd lying about Sarah and what Sarah had done. Kenny did allow Boyd to mitigate his anger, or not. To, like, Boyd convinced him Sarah has a role to play. Sarah might be able to help us. Don't just outright kill her. She's not going in the box. And Kenny did kind of back down this time. And that for me, and that was wedged between the heartbreaking scene in the town and then this scene here. It was Kenny seeking vengeance, and he said, "I'm not asking permission. Don't try to stop me. I'm going down there." And Boyd didn't. He said, "All right, I'm going with you.
Let's do this." Pulls out his little knife and everything. It's like, Boyd, what are you doing with that little knife, bro? That's not going to do nothing. But I just love the spirit of Boyd in that scene. This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
I will go side by side with you, and we will take out as many of these things as possible with his little pocket knife. It's like, he's such a badass, man.
Yep.
And that's what it needed to be. It didn't need to be him trying to convince him not to go. It needed him to be there for him, and then him to make that decision himself.
I think you're absolutely right, because we easily could have seen Boyd have a totally different reaction to it. Like, no, you're not going to throw your life away like this. You're not doing this. This wouldn't be what your mother wanted. No,
Yeah.
he kind of stepped into that role and said, okay, let me give Kenny what he thinks he needs in this scene, and hopefully that will turn him away. And it did. It worked beautifully.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what Boyd was hoping for, that this would kind of turn Kenny around. But like you said, he stepped up, man. He was ready to go die with him side by side if that was what Kenny needed.
Yeah, without hesitation too. It wasn't even a question. It was immediate. And like Yurdo said, Boyd called his hand. He just needed reassurance. And I think Boyd knew that even though he had he had everybody else's best interest in his mind when he protected Sarah and kept the information about Sarah from Kenny. He realizes, Kenny felt that it was a betrayal, and it was a betrayal. It was Boyd was in a situation where he felt like he had to do it, but this was a man like Boyd is going to square accounts, and he felt like he must have been aware that he did betray, even for noble intentions. He did betray Kenny by hiding Sarah's presence and then essentially preventing her from going in the box. This is Boyd squaring accounts. He's like, all right, well, I let him down once. I'm not going to let him down again. Boyd has a son. Boyd has a grandchild on the way. That didn't come into play. It was, you know what? We're squaring accounts. Let's do this then. Oh, good. Awesome. Pitch perfect, tone, everything. Awesome.
I've got a tangent I want to take you on, Jeremy, when you're ready. So just
please hit it.
I just want to know, what is one thing that you and Ravana and like everybody else in chat, one thing that you believe is actually true? Like if you've got one theory, which is the one thing that you're holding to?
The one thing I'm holding
So for me, this is the one thing I believe, right? I believe they're in a dome-like area. So if you go up high enough, you can see out and get out, like we see in the lighthouse. And if you go deep enough, you can probably get out as well. That's one thing I believe.
Okay. Like there is an actual limit to this place. It's not just some vast wilderness that goes on forever. At some point, someone will reach the edge of the preserve, kind of. Okay.
It might go on for forever and ever, but if you go high enough, you can get out of it. That's what I believe.
Okay. Interesting.
And like, I think you see that in the show too. Like, obviously, Tabitha gets out via the lighthouse, but whatever it is that's that place has real problems with people either getting up high or going down low. So there's got to be something to it.
Okay. Maybe. I like it. Interesting. Shit. What about you, Raven? Or do you have like one thing that you think that like one theory you do like kind of believe in that you think will come true?
Well, it's kind of, I hope it's not a cop-out, but there's obviously, and it's not, I don't even know that it's a theory or some great revelation. It's very obvious that there is some sort of surveillance going on. We know that somebody is surveilling, whether it's night or day, whether the people are alone or in a group. There is something that monitors the actions, the speech, what each person in the town is doing. They have access to that. They had access to Kadri burying his satchel when he was completely alone. They knew about Tabitha in the basement of her house digging when probably Jim and not too many other people knew about that. So there's obviously something monitoring, some sort of surveillance. People, there's a postulation that it's crows. But we, I haven't seen any crows. We do see it coming up in the trailers. There will be at least one dramatic scene with a crow in it. But other than the arrival scenes, we haven't actually seen crows. Some people have said that they've heard them in the background. It never really rang a bell. Definitely not to the extent that, say, the cicadas, when they wanted to highlight the cicadas, we would hear the cicadas. I haven't really heard crows cawing or even just as like background ambience kind of noise. But there's definitely some sort of surveillance. And I think it was, unfortunately, because real enigmas area got hit with, I guess his family was intact and house and everything was fine. They just had spotty internet. But he wasn't able to join us yesterday on Dana and Scarlett's show. But they were mentioning one of his theories about, because we'd all seen like a snow globe, or when people that were very into the analysis of the drawings, and I never really got that deep into that. I figured that was something that other people would really get into, so I never really needed to dabble. I would just be a dabbler in that instance. But what some people thought was a snow globe, because they showed a town with like halfway was land, and then there was a town on top of it, houses, and they showed tunnels under almost all the houses in this what appeared to be a snow globe. They pointed out that one of his theories was that it's not a snow globe, it's a crystal ball. And that would be like remote scrying through a crystal ball, and that's where the town vision was, rather than just being a completely enclosed snow globe. And I thought that was super intriguing, and it certainly lends itself to universal surveillance, universal monitoring. So a crystal ball can take you anywhere you want it to go. You can listen in on anybody at any time without them knowing.
At that point.
Yeah, you don't need a mole. You don't. I see. I was a partly of the mind that there's somebody else in the town that has their mind corrupted. I felt like Christopher had his mind corrupted by the symbol, and he didn't do the killing and all this other stuff, but they had access to his mind, which was why Miranda told Victor to hide where Christopher doesn't know. Maybe the monsters, maybe the evil, maybe whoever controls the monsters had access to what Christopher knew in his mind, even if he might have been acting weird, but he might not have been completely untrustworthy, or he might not have been actively trying to kill these people, but they knew what Christopher knew. They had access to his brain. He was plugged into the hive mind. I think there might be another person. Yeah, we don't know. There might be somebody keeping it on the down low, not telling people, and somebody else is plugged into the hive mind. That's where I was going theory wise. But I also, again, if we're going into the supernatural and the mystical elements, which I think Fatima's kind of taken us there, and the kimono creature is taking us there, then I wouldn't discount the crystal ball surveillance theory. I don't know how much farther it gets developed beyond that, but that one element of that theory, I could definitely, I find it, entirely plausible, nothing really contradictory that we've seen in the show. So yeah, that's it.
Interesting.
What about you, Jeremy?
No, I like it. It's a cool one. It's something is certainly watching them through some kind of means, and hopefully we'll get that answer at some point. For me, I think the one thing I do generally still believe in is that Eloise is alive. She isn't dead. She is alive, and she did potentially make it out. That's kind of where I'm kind of going to stick with that one, I think. But there's also another one that I really do like, and someone brought it up in the chat earlier, and I did a video on it a while back, is that I think that Fromville, this place itself, I think it could potentially be serving as some kind of supernatural prison for supernatural entities. Maybe that is the reason why this place is here. It is meant to keep these monsters, these entities, all of these dark nightmares that are pulled right out of our nightmares in some cases. Maybe that is what Fromville is originally intended to be. Maybe this is some kind of supernatural prison for your worst nightmares kind of thing. But then the question begs is, why exactly are people getting stuck here? And that I'm still not quite sure of, but part of me just can't shake the feeling that this whole thing might be one giant supernatural prison. But between that, and I'm pretty sure Eloise is still alive, those are probably the two that I'm hoping will come true still. But yeah, interesting. I mean, we got some good ones here in the chat as well. Fatima turning into a monster because they killed one. I really like that one. Yeah, we talked about this earlier in terms of Smiley getting killed off. We know that they bring new humans into the town every time a human gets killed off. Now that a monster got killed off, will they be finding some kind of way to replace that monster? So I really do like that one as well. Don't trust the boy in white. Yeah, the boy in white is sus. This is a very popular theory among the fandom. This is one thing about From that we've kind of come to notice is some of the bigger theories like this, like is the boy in white sus or not? it seems like the fandom is almost kind of dead split down the middle as to people thinking they can trust the boy in white and people thinking he's incredibly sus and has his own kind of, malevolent kind of intentions. But no, those are some of the good ones right there. Donna is not the mole, says Kiwi. Yes, 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 yes. I believe they are actually that they are all actually from Fromland. Ooh, okay, like they're all originally from there. Okay, that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. I still believe in my theory that this is all about child sacrifices, says Tyler B. Maybe. I mean, we
God,
still
that's
need to find
dark.
out what was happening to those creepy Ankui children laid on those almost altar-like stones. Did kind of give you the feeling like it was some kind of ritual or sacrifice that they were being put through. So that theory is very much still in play. Very much. There's a traitor amongst the group, says Battlefield Boxing and MMA. Ooh, no, that's a good one. Is there potentially someone among them that isn't quite who they say they will? Nice. Like the Hunger Games dome. I will get on that theory train. I will get on that theory train. They show us snow globes within the town inside. And again, I do like that one as well, like yours, Rob, in terms of if they were able to go up high enough, could they potentially see something? And is that maybe one of the reasons why they weren't even able to get the drone up to that high? Was something actively keeping the drone down more than just the weight of the antenna? So no, I like that one. I like that one a lot.
Like a Truman Show type deal.
Maybe like a little bit more along the lines, like maybe Jim's experiment is maybe a little bit right, just a little bit different than he thought. Maybe. I don't know. But no, good stuff. Really, really good stuff. But yeah, it's hard to be really like 100% sure of what this place is. Oh, there it is. Hollywood Pineapple was the one who kind of made me think of it. Yeah, Fromville is a prison for some things. That's the main thing. That is true. And again, I'm right there with you. I've had that feeling since very early on that this could potentially be some kind of supernatural prison of some kind. But who knows? Maybe we're off. But I do really like that one. I do really like that one. The one thing I'm holding on to is that there are multiple entities, beings manipulating people, good and bad. And this one, I definitely agree with you, Skizzer. Absolutely, Skizler, excuse me. I definitely agree with this one because I feel like we've seen some interesting evidence that could potentially already back that up. With all of the multiple different voices that even Sarah is hearing. Seems like some of these voices were telling Sarah to do some pretty heinous things like kill Toby and cover it up like it was a monster attack. And then at the end of season 1, Sarah is also getting a vision or hearing a voice from someone that seemed to be trying to help. And it might have even seemed like it might have actually been the spirit of Boyd's dead wife, Abby, in terms of Abby potentially saying to Sarah, I was wrong. There's worse things out here in the monsters than the forest, and telling them to kind of go back. And telling Sarah about the whole Fish and Loaves name. I mean, how the heck would Sarah learn about Fish and Loaves if that wasn't really Abby communicating with her? And then we see Sarah at the end of season 2 return to the ruins where Boyd first encountered the worms. And it seemed like she managed to kind of make some kind of connection directly with the entity, where she straight up said, it's laughing at you. It's laughing at you, Boyd, for bringing it back to town. It got excited when it touched your arm, speaking to Kenny. So Sarah is clearly, I think, getting manipulated by more than one entity that is stuck here in Fromville. So yeah, I think this one is definitely on point here. Definitely. If the ambulance carries 2 EMTs, a cop, Henry, and Tabby, people may have to die to even that out, unless the EMT driver dies or something. Yeah, I mean, if there is some truth to the whole, when people die here, that same number kind of refills it, then yes. I mean, if there's all these multiple people in the ambulance, it stands to reason maybe not all of them will survive. Yeah, maybe. I mentioned it before, but can anyone map the sky to find out where they are on Earth? I've been wondering that myself as well, and I believe we even talked about this during season 2, or it might have even been during season 1, when Fatima is bringing Julie to the top of Colony House and they're looking up at the stars, and Fatima gives her the line that, even a nightmare, even in a nightmare, even a nightmare can look beautiful sometimes, something along those lines. And yeah, I've been wondering that as well. I mean, is there any kind of astrologer in town? Is there anybody in this town that has any kind of knowledge that can maybe map out or potentially map out where they are based on the location of the stars? And that could potentially tell you if you're even still on Earth or not. So yeah, I've been
Right.
wondering that for a while.
Yeah, I remember early on in season 1 when that topic came up in the scene, because I almost never do stills and screenshots, get too deep into that, but I definitely did that, and I zoomed in because on the surface it seemed like there was only 3 or 4 stars, but when we got it in high res and got it
When you sharpen
exactly,
it,
I think there were like 9 or more. So, but I am absolutely
7 or
no
9.
astrologer or astronomer. But I know other people have that knack where okay, that's Rigel 7, and okay, that's this and here. So this must be exactly, they'll know, So it's in the Discord, probably in the season 1 images, if anybody's curious.
SB says Victor was alone for a long time. There is no population requirement. I kind of feel like
very true.
I feel like Fromville goes in like cycles though, and I think he's like an anomaly that survived one of the cycles. So I don't know if that is true for me anyway.
Yeah, there is a lot of kind of potential evidence pointing to there being some weird kind of loop reoccurring in terms of the same kind of characters coming into this town over and over again, being cursed with like the same things even. And you start to think, like, was Victor part of a previous cycle? And maybe that's why the cycle never fully reset, because he's still alive. And I know that's something you brought up very early on, Rob. And I think that could potentially be true, that maybe Victor is the one thing that's really keeping this whole cycle from fully starting over again. And could that potentially be why he was alone for so long before new people started to come? So I like that one. I think that's a good one.
Some other people were postulating that maybe they were it was Henry that was needed. They wanted to take the entire Victor family, the Kavanaugh family. Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's very possible. I mean, we've been saying since very early on, definitely think that Tabitha was sent to the real world to either bring something or someone back, either Henry or Eloise. It has to be one of those two. Or, I mean, maybe we'll end up finding out that Eloise never really did escape. Maybe she's still alive in Fromville somewhere. Maybe she's the one that's marching around these freaking cabins at night. Who knows?
She couldn't have escaped though, could she? Because like then she would go and see the husband, surely.
She didn't go home, right? Yeah, she didn't go home. That's the thing.
Even if you hated him now for some unknown reason, you'd still go and see him.
You'd still go home. Yeah, absolutely.
So if Victor, so if Victor was by himself in the town, living essentially after the massacre by himself, making a life on his own, how wild would it be if Eloise was living that same life, except out in the woods somewhere? She'll be and if they kept this a secret,
or in this village that we're seeing here,
exactly like you said, the one tramping around with the footsteps that Kenny and Jim heard, she'll be like a completely feral
for hopping in her fucking house.
Yeah, she'll be an entirely wild, feral person who's lived presumably the same amount of time Victor has. So she'll be in her late 40s at the very least, as a completely wild person with no social contact. Insanity, man.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, man. And again, there's so much about this whole Eloise, Miranda, Henry storyline that we still just don't know. But I do get the feeling they are going to continue to pull on that thread throughout the season. It seems like this is definitely going to be the season where we hopefully definitively find out what really happened to Eloise. Is she alive? Is she dead? Did she make it out? Is she still here? I think we will get that answer in some kind of capacity this season. It does seem like that's where Tabitha's storyline is ultimately heading, down the Eloise and Victor and Henry rabbit hole. But no, I like that. I really like it because, again, it would offer a very interesting parallel if, while Victor is off living this kind of nightmarish kind of life all by himself in the town, that Eloise is kind of stuck somewhere, lost, maybe never found a way to get back to the town because she went through the bottle faraway tree, got to the lighthouse or got close to the lighthouse and maybe didn't go inside, any number of things could have really happened. And if that's the case, I mean, she's a young girl like that. How is she ever going to find her way back to the town? Because one thing we do hear from Jeff Pinker, the showrunner, he does state that Eloise leaves the town that morning and never returns to town. He does say that she never returned. So that's not to mean that she made it out guaranteed. That could just mean that she just never returned to the town, but she's still in Fromville somewhere else, just lost in the woods, forced to kind of create some kind of life to survive on her own. I mean, maybe she planted all of that food near the lake. Who knows? Yeah, no, I like it. Interesting stuff, guys.
Yeah. Got some gifted memberships.
We do. We have some gifted membership. Oh, actually, we also have a super chat. I cannot believe it took me this long to see this. I'm so sorry, Samuel. We got Samuel for $5. Thank you so much, Samuel. If you had to hide in town, no talisman, where are y'all hiding? Ooh,
I'll hide
interesting.
a couple of meters behind Jeremy, so they take him first.
I'm confident I can outrun you, Rob, so I'm okay with that.
I think you're probably right.
It's not about who's the fastest. It's about as long as I'm faster than the slowest person. I am confident in that. I was very athletic in my day.
I would probably hide in a tree, honestly.
Just climb up in a tree, stay completely still. Maybe that's a good idea. I mean, it worked for the member of the Night's Watchman to hide from the others in the Game of Thrones books. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, where would you hide if you had no talisman? You could hide anywhere in the town or in the forest. Where would you hide? Shit. Ravener, does anything come to mind to you?
Yeah. I actually, for some reason, it didn't ring a bell. I didn't key in that it was a super chat, so I didn't bring it up, but I responded to it in the chat.
No,
I was like, I would be the guy that I would hide in that little cubby hole in the barn that Sarah shoved Tabby in. If it's just for a night, I think I could bunker down in that little. I'm not really claustrophobic or anything. I think that would get me off the radar at least for a night or so. And in an extended period of time, that's a whole nother ball of wax. And maybe you'd look for one of those kind of dugouts like they showed. Was it Boyd on his first night that had like the grass on the top of it, the spider hole type thing, and wood reinforcements and all that? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a good one. The little false wall in the barn there seems like at least a good enough place where you could at least survive one night, maybe two, maybe three. Yeah, man, it's tough to know. I mean, where would I hide personally? If some of these homes have pull down attics or something like that, maybe something like that, preferably one with a window on it. So if they did find me, I could have some means of exfil. But wherever I hid, I would want it to have at least 2 entrances and exits. So that way, if I did potentially get found, I would have some means of, escaping, because we have seen these things are very slow. I'm very confident in my ability to outrun them for a long duration if I had to. But that would probably be my guess. Maybe find some kind of, hideaway, not cellar, but kind of a hideaway ceiling, that you could kind of go up into the attic and preferably with a window. So if I had to escape onto like a neighboring roof, I could do that, but stay very still in one of those houses, just in the attic. I mean, it doesn't seem like, seems like that could potentially work. Hell, it worked for 30 days of night at least.
I'd be toast. If they found me in my little cubby hole, if they found me, I'd just be like, oh, all right, well, you got me. I would be toast.
I think if there was no talisman, I'd probably just actually want to go deep into the woods and see what's there.
Maybe.
I mean, you're probably going to die anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
You can go down in the caves if they're out at night. You can go down in the caves. You know where they're not, at least.
That's a good one. Yeah, go fucking down in the caves at night, because we know they're not there at night. That might actually be the safest place at night.
Yeah, poop on their futon.
That's a good point. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Leave a nice floater in their toilet. Awesome stuff. Well, thank you, Samuel, for the super chat. You are owed a woe. But yeah, what do you guys think in the chat? Where would you hide if you didn't have a talisman? I mean, the Peach Truck just having no other means of exit, one way out, one way in. I'd be very scared to hide in that if I was young Victor. But here's your woe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Tough one. That is a tough one. Because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of just overtly good hiding spots. I mean, we hear, like you said earlier, Miranda goes up to Victor and young Eloise and tells them hide somewhere where Christopher can't find you. And they picked a freaking root cellar of all places. Like one of the that just doesn't seem like it's a very secure place that Christopher doesn't know about. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, be Usain Bolt for the rest of your life, right? Just off it, just ghosting these things left and right. Hiding a tree. I do like the hiding a tree idea. Again, it very much worked pretty well for Will in the Game of Thrones prologue when the others were slaughtering his Night Watch companions down below. He stayed incredibly silent, incredibly still like a cat, and he made it. He survived. Yeah, I think if you get up in a high enough tree with decent enough cover and you stay just completely still, that's probably a pretty good hiding spot. I like that one. I definitely like that one from Robin Glue Guns. Yeah, good stuff. If I had a boat, I'd go out on the ocean. And if I had a pony, I'd ride it on my boat. If I had a boat. Yeah, good old Boyd and Abby's song, as it were. Do some power walking all night or go deep into the woods at night. Yeah, again, another good one. You know, just at this point, the only thing keeping them tied to the town is it's the only place that keeps them safe because they have these talismans. But if they didn't have those talismans, yeah, I mean, you would think go out deep into the woods, because I've always wondered, you know, how many monsters are there really? What is the population of monsters? Is there 20, 30, 40, 50, hundreds? How many of them are there really? And after that, how much of the radius of the surrounding forest do they make up? Could you get to a point, like Rob said, if you walk deeper and deeper and deeper into the forest, could you potentially get to a point where maybe you're beyond the monster's kind of range? It seems like they kind of stay close located to the town because that's where the people that they hunt are. But how deep out into the forest does one have to go before they're outside of the range of the monsters? But then I guess you have to worry about whatever else is out there in the forest, because we know there are other things out in the forest that are worse than the monsters. So I get the feeling if you do get beyond the grasp of the monsters, you're just going to be in danger of something else, maybe even worse.
Yeah,
it might be like the monsters are just like the pawns on a chessboard, but the other pieces are far worse.
Exactly. Yeah. If
cool.
the monsters are the pawns, you know, what is the knight? What is the rook? What is the king? What is the queen? Like, what else is out there? What's this? Is there a hierarchy to it, kind of thing? Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, people are saying make a raft go into the lake. They're saying, what about Clara's bicycle? You could just start doing laps on the bicycle all night long. You'd sleep at the daytime too, like the monsters, so you'd be fresh. And just start riding.
Yes, or even the van. We see that they do have a van. I imagine they probably have access to a decent amount of gas, considering all the cars that get stuck here. I can just drive around in a fucking circle all night. Like you know, this place is one giant loop. Head out the main road and just drive all fucking night. Mow one of them down if they get in front of you, and just keep going. Yeah.
I am disappointed in like the townspeople's lack of trying to kill these monsters, though. I think they should be putting more of an effort.
It's been a long time coming, but it is coming.
Looks like it's coming now, and let me thank Dana for these awesome 2 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Dana Marie, for the gifted 2 memberships, not 1 but 2 memberships gifted. Thank you so much, and welcome to the new members who did receive them. Be sure to make use of all of the awesome custom Fromville emojis we have down there. And thank you so much, Dana, for the gifted memberships. You get a row.
Tommy Guns Frank is now a member, and Everlyn Martins is now a member. I jotted him down in case the chat scrolled on.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I tried to scroll up. I couldn't find it. It was too far back. So thank you for that, my friend. See, this is why having an awesome co-host really makes everything that much better. Ravener is the fucking man.
Evelyn Martin says, I would construct a hot air balloon. I don't think whatever's there is going to let you get away with a hot air balloon.
That's an interesting idea, though. It is an interesting idea. Yeah, good stuff. But yeah, no, in terms of finally going on the offense, getting off of the defensive, finally taking the fight to the monsters. Of course, this is definitely something we've wanted them to at least try for a very long time. We got a very small instance of them attempting this in season 2 with the whole bile bullets, which turned out to be an absolute bust. Which we kind of knew it would be. I think a lot of us had a feeling that wouldn't work as a direct weapon. It's just too easy. If Boyd can all of a sudden come across these magic bullets where all he has to do is dip a bullet into the bile and he can start killing monsters, that's just way too easy. They're not going to make killing these monsters that easy. They can't just have some magic kind of cult like from Supernatural where it just kills anything. So I do think these monsters are going to have some kind of weakness, though. I don't think they are 100% invulnerable. We have seen Boyd manage to take one out with the worms, but then again, there's no more worms. That seemed like that was a one-shot, one-kill kind of thing and not something you can repeat. But I definitely think these things do have some kind of weakness. They just need to find out what it is. I think Kenny might have been on the right path in terms of burning one, because again, we do have some evidence that it did destroy Smiley's body. Yeah, Smiley was already dead, so you have to kind of take that into account. But I do get the feeling fire could potentially work against these things, just like maybe decapitation could potentially work. You cut one of these things' heads off, I think that's going to work. But in one way, hopefully we do kind of find out some way that they do have some kind of weakness. And now we see Boyd at the end of episode 2. It seems like Boyd is getting of the mindset that we've been in for a very long time, that he's sick of playing defense. He wants more information. He wants to learn more. He wants to take the fight to the monsters. And now we hear him mention to Ellis that he is going to attempt to trap a monster and go medieval Jack Bauer on the damn thing. And I'm all for it. I would love to. There's nothing I would love more than to see Boyd go full on Jack Bauer on one of these monsters and just interrogate the heck out of it and get some answers. But then again, you know, a monster under the threat of interrogation, you never know if the information you're getting is going to be accurate or some kind of manipulation. But at the very least, it seems like Boyd is of the mindset that he is going to try and trap one of these monsters. What do you guys think about this? Do you think Boyd will successfully trap a monster, or do you think this might be a plan that goes horribly awry?
They need a win, so he has to be able to trap one, I reckon.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it has been loss after loss after loss after loss. They really could use a W to kind of lift their spirits up a little bit, especially now. Yeah, I mean, maybe. What about you, Ravener? Think he'll be able to successfully trap one of these things? And you, chat, as well. What do you guys think in the chat? Will he successfully trap a monster?
This is such a tough one because, you know, the key to interrogation is, you know, will they talk? What will they tell him? What kind of information is he going to try to get out of them? And why would they? Why would they talk? I mean, Cowboy obviously would taunt him. Nothing he would say would be reliable. I think when it was brought up yesterday, the question is, you would have to be more threatening to the monster than whatever entity is controlling them. They would have to be more afraid of Boyd or whoever's doing the interrogation. They'd have to be more afraid of the interrogator than they are of the entity controlling them. How much agency do these monsters have independently? Are they even able to defy the will of their controller? Are they more or less puppets? Do they have independent personalities, agency, or whatever? Somebody said, like Uncut Ninja Dope says, Jasmine Monster said she didn't choose this. Was she just playing Kevin and lying? The truth? Yeah, we don't know any of that. My prediction is it won't be. Ideally, you know, the target would be Cowboy. I think Boyd definitely has a vendetta against Cowboy. Don't think he's going to get Cowboy. My target, my guess was the headband lady, Cowboy's girlfriend, the one that was tapping on the window with him. I always call her Cowboy's girlfriend, but the lady with the headband. Maybe they'll get her. Maybe they'll even figure out a way to give her pain that they think might be, you know, enough to make her tell the truth or give them some kind of information. But they really, other than we've only seen one death and it was such a unique circumstance with Smiley, maybe they don't know the threshold. Maybe they don't know how much damage these things can take, or once you do find a way to hurt them, how destroy them completely. I feel like they might get one. It'll be a momentary success, but the thing will die or pass away or be destroyed in one way or another. Maybe it'll take all night and then the sunrise, and they are working on vampire rules right when she's about to tell them something. A sunbeam hits her and she turns into a cloud of dust. Anything
He goes all Dracula on us.
I think it's going to be a rug pull though. For some reason, I feel like they're going to have the facade, the appearance of victory, of progress, success. And then this freaking town, man, we're in episode 3. This town ain't rolling over yet.
What I reckon will happen is they'll catch one and then they'll be about to interrogate it, or something will happen. They'll get distracted and they'll come back and it will be dead, and someone in the town will have killed it, but they won't know who and they won't know how.
Yeah. Or it'll be gone. They'll leave, they'll come back, and it'll just be completely gone, and they'll be
someone's let it out again.
Yes, I like that. I like both of those. Because, like you said, this place does seem to like it. You brought this up a few times, Ravener, in terms of it seems like this place likes to give you a little bit of hope just to take it away, in terms of not destroying all of the food at once, only half of it, and then destroying the rest of it later. Little things like that, where they're kind of leaving them just a small crumb of hope before they snatch it away. So I could potentially see that being the case here, where maybe they think they have successfully trapped one of these things, only for the monster to kind of turn the tables on them in some kind of devastating fashion in the 23rd hour. I could see that potentially being the case. But yeah, what do you guys think? Will it be a success? Todd thinks it will be a success. So the monsters, while they are sleeping, our guard is down, and they sleep in monster form. And when they get out of the cavern, they transform into their human form. Yeah, it seems like when they were asleep down in the caves, they were in their monster form, not their human form, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And even when they're just traveling, even when they're just traveling and nobody's there to witness them, they're still in their human form. So it's not just like something like a glamour they put on for the benefit of the townsfolk. It seems like, I think he's exactly right. When they leave the caves, they turn in, they put their game face on, really.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a little bit of evidence of that as well. I mean, the very first episode of the very first season, when we see the monsters coming out of the forest and coming up to the RV, they're in their human form. They're not in their monster form. So yeah, maybe it's something like you guys said there. Maybe they leave the cave and they kind of just hop into their human skin. Because again, it does look like they have kind of shape-shifting abilities. But he will trap one, and someone will probably die. That's a potential possibility. I think he will trap one, but then something weird will happen. Hell yeah. Let's see it. They need to just kill a monster. I don't get trying to trap the monster. And I kind of agree. I would rather much see them just kind of go on the offensive. But I guess where Boyd is coming from is he doesn't just want to kill one. He wants to trap one so we can hopefully get some answers. Like, Boyd is after information, it seems, not just a means of fighting back. And again, that's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous way to go about it. Like, if you're kind of just trying to take one of these things out from afar using fire or some other means, that's a little bit safer than kind of getting up and close and personal and trying to trap one of these things. But again, it seems like Boyd is specifically looking for information, not just trying to kill one. That's why I think he's going to try and trap one. But again, I think it's going to go wrong. I don't think it's going to be a success. They're not strong. They're not that stronger than a human, and that's one thing we really don't know. Actually, I mean, we've seen some evidence that actually does point to them being far stronger than humans. When we see, and right in season 1, when poor old Frank is put into the box, we see the monsters just burst through that box like it's cardboard. Humans would not have been able to do that easy. So that definitely points to them having some kind of measure of strength is a little bit beyond normal human strength.
They should have used that moment to try and kill some of them. Give him a whole can of gasoline in there with him and blow it up. When they're trying to kill him.
I think that's what Kenny was going for, man. And I don't know. Maybe Boyd was overcautious. Maybe they could have, depending on if you could do it quietly, and they did stay asleep. Depending on how much noise you make, you could really, you might not be able to douse every entrance and every bit of them, but you could cause a lot of trouble before anybody, especially if they're fairly sound sleepers, because they were Tabitha
quiet,
was
yeah.
talking the whole damn way there, and they didn't wake up. And Victor was
Yeah,
telling
not
her,
until the very end.
yeah.
Yeah.
This comment is
maybe.
like spot on, man.
Right, absolutely right. For every action, there is a reaction. Killing the monsters will cause more chaos, and I definitely think that's the case. And I feel like we've already seen a little bit of an instance of that in season 2. We see Boyd successfully take out one of these monsters, and now look what's happening. I mean, the whole place is turning completely upside down because we have to remember this winter started moving in long before Tabitha escaped. So Tabitha escaping Fromville isn't the sole reason for this town starting to turn on them in terms of the harsher conditions. You know, the leaves were already starting to fall. The place was already starting to get way colder long before Tabitha escaped. But right around the time Smiley got killed, that is when we started to see the leaves were changing a little bit more. The cold was coming in a little bit more. So I think you're 100% right, Dark Lord. I feel like killing that monster, killing Smiley, I feel like that could potentially be some of the reason as to why we're seeing all of these harsh conditions moving in now with the with the bad weather, the forest no longer providing livestock for them like it did in earlier seasons where it was giving them bounty after bounty. This place is actively changing and kind of turning on them, and I do think that is because of them meddling in things they shouldn't be meddling in, like killing a monster, like trying to escape, like trying to find answers. All of these things are having some kind of negative reaction from this place. So if Boyd does manage to trap or kill another monster, yeah, I mean, who knows what the consequences are going to be for that? How much worse could it potentially get for these people? I mean, we've kind of theorized that maybe one of the next things that gets taken away from them could be the electricity. They have this mysterious electricity that seems to be another gift of the town, but that could probably easily get taken away. Yeah, I think you're 100% right. It does seem like there is an equal reaction to almost everything that happens here. So if we kill another monster, whew, how much worse is it going to get for these people? Maybe.
Yeah,
So
it's like there's unspoken rules that as long as they follow these rules, then they can lead not a good life, but they can survive. But as soon as they start going outside of these rules, they suffer more and more consequences.
It seems to be the case. That definitely seems to be. I mean, we're at least getting some evidence of that, not only from what we're seeing the actual conditions in the town change, but also from some of the dialogue and from some of the things that we've heard from the characters as well, in terms of Sarah bringing up the whole, if you push too hard to try and find answers, this place will quote unquote push back, to the boy in white telling Sarah that this place is angry at them for them meddling in things they shouldn't be meddling in, from the clear case of whatever this place is sending a massive storm directly at Jim and Jade's radio as soon as it goes up. Something is definitely actively working against them in terms of trying to stop their progress at escaping and finding answers. So yeah, I think you guys are spot on. If they kill another monster, boy, this might get really bad. This might get really bad for sure. Man, and can they talk while they're in their monster form? That we haven't really heard yet. We haven't really learned that yet. Every time we see them in their actual monster form transition, they seem to be just kind of screeching. We haven't actually heard any, regular human dialogue come out of them when they're in their monster form. So I'm not sure. I don't know if they can talk when they're in monster form. And that's another thing. Like, is this one of those cases where someone brought this up that they thought Jasmine wasn't really trying to manipulate Porn Stash Guy, that her human side and her monster side are two different kind of beings, two different kind of consciousnesses. And I thought it was kind of an interesting theory, but I just feel like there's not a whole lot to really back that up. It does seem like even human form monsters are incredibly nefarious and dark based on some of the things they've done. But I thought it was at least an interesting idea in terms of, is there some kind of difference to their human or monster form? Are they in less control when they're in their monster form as opposed to being a little more cerebral when they're in their human form? I don't know, but I thought it was an interesting, at least, idea. But can they talk when they're in their monster form? No idea. I don't think we haven't seen any indication of that yet, but I don't know. I don't know. Things won't go smoothly, but I'm sure they'll get somewhere. Boyd is going to have a misadventure and put another character in peril, probably doing a stupid plan, trying to get one of outside during the day. Ooh, yeah. And again, that's what Boyd needs to watch out for. I mean, coming up with whatever kind of plan he is coming up with, he's already involving his son, potentially putting his son in danger, along with who else might try and help. So yeah, I mean, and it's interesting for Boyd because he does kind of have almost a small kind of certain degree of plot armor, where it seems clear that the monsters are not going to kill him, even if they kind of catch him bare ass out in the street in the middle of the night. It doesn't seem like the monsters want to kill Boyd, so he does have some measure of kind of knowing, okay, I can maybe do a little bit more than some of the other people in town because they don't want me dead, kind of thing. But then again, that's where Boyd has to watch out for getting other people around him killed or in peril, like episode 1, where, poor Tien Chen ended up losing her life. Yes, it was her choice to kind of leave the house and help Boyd, but the whole reason those monsters enacted that entire plan to begin with was solely to break Boyd. So you can definitely understand why, many people think Boyd bears a little measure of responsibility for her death, and I agree with that personally. But yeah, he's got to be careful.
Ty Briggs has a good question. He goes, if they hear everything, how do they plan?
Very good question. Yep.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I don't think they can hear everything. I definitely think it's more along the lines of something is relaying this information to them, and where one of them hears it, they all hear it. I do feel like there's some kind of hive mind thing going on, where if one of them learns it, they all know it. But I don't get the feeling that they are just personally listening to everything themselves. Because, I mean, no one would ever be able to hide from them if that was the case. And we've seen clear instances where the monsters are actively searching for people that they don't know where they are. If they were all seeing and all knowing, nobody would ever be able to successfully hide from them. And Julie, Sarah, and frickin' Ethan managed to hide from Granny Monster in a damn bush 10 feet away, and Granny had no idea where they were. So they're not all seeing and all knowing. They can't see and hear everything all the time. I think something else is surveilling the town and relaying this information to them by some weird means.
Well, the scene where Boyd confronted Randall as he was walking away with Alma, the goat, that was a confrontation out in front of everyone, where Boyd essentially said out in front of everyone, this is, we have a resource scarcity. We don't have much. This is one of our extreme vulnerabilities. He verbalized it out in front of everybody. So it would be, unless it's one of the random, and there were quite a few, maybe 10 or so, just at a glance, not counting Ethan, not counting Randall, who were present when he was saying that, expressing the vulnerability of the food supply there. So maybe Randall is a hugely suspect, because it was literally a day before that they were inside of his head, torturing him. Julie and Marielle, all three of the three may not be out of the woods yet. And Julie indicated that was a kind of a sleeper. It was a kind of a sleeper scene, a transition scene that Julie had. And I don't, even on all the shows that we've done, we haven't really talked about her little scene with Sarah, and that was part of the trailer even. And it's funny because it was such a downbeat scene that nobody even addressed it, but she basically said,
we addressed it a little bit, and I kind of tied it back to the synopsis. And again, this is why I kind of wish I didn't read all the synopsis, because we see in the episode synopsis at one point, it says Julie is dealing with some kind of trauma. And I think that is what she was referring to. I feel like that scene with Sarah was setting that up. Julie saying, this place has got in my head. I'm afraid of what that might mean. I think that is the trauma that Julie's going to be dealing with this season. I don't think whatever happened to them is either fully over, or there's going to be some kind of residual side effect.
Yeah. And I didn't like the pacing on that. And it's definitely not a major issue or whatever. But yeah, she said, I don't want to. And then Sarah came back way too quick. You can go ahead and say it, be like you. It was a little punchy, but it seemed like the dialogue was a little rushed. I thought
a little bit,
but it was it was kind of a burn. It was definitely, something that probably Sarah didn't want to hear, but she basically knew that everybody's thinking it anyway. So she was probably reconciled with that. Everybody thinks that. And maybe Julie needed to, but it wasn't like she was taking Sarah in as a confidant or anything that she was going to share her. She just dropped that bomb on her and then booked away. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Hannah Cherami works Julie, the role of Julie, and how the writers have written her as it goes. so it's kind of hit and miss for me. But definitely worth watching. I'm not always super thrilled with it, but I think that you can't not watch Julie, because she's obviously she knows something, and this is obviously impacting her in a deeper way. Don't see Randall spilling his guts, although there is that little scene where he's sharing with Marielle, right? They're kind of whatever, sharing a moment where they as two people that have two of the three that have been through that experience, they at least are kindred spirits in that aspect.
Yeah,
there's so many good comments in the chat too, man. Like, you guys are awesome. Riley says, Riley says, have the monsters always been smart enough to let out the animals, or were they instructed to do so?
Exactly, and that's kind of ties in even to. It's a very terrifying thought, and ties in even to this. Like, do they have their own agency? Are they kind of just completely independent, or is something maybe directing them or controlling them in some kind of way? And again, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of force or some kind of entity that was indeed, at least, if not completely controlling every move these monsters make, at least directing them in some small way in terms of giving them information, kind of, setting them on the path to do what they do. Because it's just, again, I find it very hard to believe that they're hearing everything that is going on themselves, yet they can't find these people sometimes. Again, there's a lot of evidence pointing to them not hearing and seeing everything themselves, that maybe something else is relaying it to them. But great stuff. Let me catch up on the chat, and we'll see what you guys are saying. Awesome stuff here. Awesome stuff. I think it's a higher level god who informs the pawn monsters of what people say. No one would have survived before the talisman if the ghouls had that power. Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of my thing as well. And I know a lot of you felt the same way, in terms of, like, if they're all knowing, if they're seeing every little thing, how is anybody ever surviving? So the monsters can't kill, I think, Boyd. The monsters can't kill, I think, Boyd is the man in yellow. Posted pics in the Discord earlier today to back up my theory. Ooh, awesome. Golden Child. Nice. Yes, we did get the incredibly mysterious picture of the man in yellow. And we'll move on to that right here in a second, because there is some interesting stuff to talk about there. I think Fatima will give birth a physical form for this entity. And that's a very big possibility. And if that kind of subject interests anybody, I did a video a while back called Fatima's Monster Baby. And in it, I kind of put forth a very tinfoily theory, something that I don't necessarily think is actually going to happen. But it was just a fun tinfoil theory video where I kind of lay out how Fatima could potentially be becoming a vessel for one of these entities, that one of these entities does want to be born into the physical world, and they are using Fatima's baby as a means to do so. So I'm right there with you.
Interesting.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, again, it's a very tinfoily video. I did it a few months ago, and it's just called From Season 3, Fatima's Monster Baby. You can find it pretty easy if you search that. And again, it's just very tinfoily theory as to how one of these entities might use Fatima's baby as some kind of vessel to be born into the real world.
That's interesting, Jeremy, because you said earlier you think it might be a supernatural prison, yet it doesn't seem like the creatures are all that concerned about escaping, but maybe it's because the entity hasn't been born into a physical body to escape yet.
I always kind of go back to the season 2 entity, the weird cicada entity, and how we really don't know what its plan was. What did it ultimately want? Yes, it was tormenting the town, and we hear that dialogue from Sarah when she's directly talking to it, saying, once Julie, Randall, and Mari are dead, at that point it will be too late. But too late for what? What exactly is too late referring to? What was this entity's endgame fully? And then I think about some of the dialogue that it was saying to Sarah in that scene, where it said specifically to Kenny, it got excited when it touched your arm. Almost like the entity got excited at the prospect of being able to physically interact with people in the real world. Because up until that point, the entity was kind of solely located to the dream space. It could only harm people in its dreams, but it seemed like it was actively trying to affect people in the real world through their dreams. So that led me to believe that maybe that was the entity's ultimate goal, that maybe it was trying to search for some physical form so it could escape. But again, very tinfoily. very tinfoily, but fun rabbit holes to kind of dive down every once in a while. Have the monsters always been smart enough to let the animals out, or are they instructed to do so? And again, that's exactly what we really need to find out. I mean, the creators have been giving us kind of small hints from time to time in terms of saying that the monsters are evolving, quote unquote. They're evolving their tactics. And again, I do think we have seen instances where that is the case from season 1 all the way until right now, where even in season 1, before Boyd finds the talismans, we hear Father Cautry and all of them say, and I think Boyd even says it in, referring to before the talismans were found, the monsters would kind of screech all night. They would howl. They would be very loud and intimidating, most likely as some kind of fear factor to probably try and get people to reveal their location so they could hunt them. But then once Boyd found the talismans, we find out that they stopped screeching. They weren't kind of wild all night. They started to rely a little bit more on their human form, and they started to rely a little bit more on kind of mental mind manipulation tactics to get people to invite them in, as opposed to just brute force before that they implied before the talismans. Now we're seeing them starting to get even smarter, where they're adapting and finding ways to actively set very clever ambushes for these monsters, like what we saw with them letting the animals out of the pen. And I think a lot of people are asking, and I'm 100% in agreement, why the heck they were leaving those animals out there in the first place, knowing that this is their only food source, knowing that it's getting colder and colder here. You would think that they would take steps to protect their only resource for food up at that point. And, I always kind of say, Randall does not need his own talisman so he can live in his own bus. Send Randall back to freaking Colony House, put that talisman up inside the barn, put the animals in the barn at night, keep them safe from the monsters at night. But again, they never really took steps to do that, because I imagine they just never really thought to do that, because the monsters have never messed with the livestock in the past. So maybe they just thought that was something, maybe that was just something that never crossed their minds, maybe.
Right.
But no,
there's also the element that they could have just gone into the corral and killed all the livestock and zeroed out everything. It was about drawing the people out. Yeah, they could have.
Yeah, it seemed like it was about drawing Boyd out.
Yeah.
In particular. I mean, they had to know if anybody was going to come out at night and save the animals, they must have known Boyd would have been the first one out the door. So I think that whole scene was specifically just designed to get Boyd outside and to kill somebody that he cares about in front of him. That was the whole plan, and it worked to perfection, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, they're getting cleverer. They are getting clever. And we even saw a little instance of this in season 2, where the monsters all of a sudden started to do things that we've never seen them do before, in terms of what they did to poor Kelly, where they left Kelly alive and they stuck the freaking rebarb through her forehead and just left her tethered to a damn tree, but not before making her watch what they did to Brian. And that's exactly the same thing that Boyd says here in season 3. Kelly says, they made me watch, just how they made Boyd watch what they did to Tian Chen. So we're seeing these kind of small instances where the monsters are getting more clever. They're kind of changing their tactics, and who knows where they're going to go from here? What's the next step going to be? How are they going to evolve next? What are they going to do? I don't know, but I can't freaking wait to see it.
Yeah.
Shit.
And the music, the song, just a complete non sequitur side thing. The song is the most current song of any that we've seen played yet. They had Roy Orbison, they had Bob Dylan, they had who I don't know who else. The Monkees, I think. We Got to Get Out of This Place, whoever sang that. All these old ones. 1980 was Cool in the Gang, the Celebrate, when they're taunting.
God, that was
Kenny.
Brutal.
It was pretty rough. Yeah, it was
That's
pretty
so horrible.
Wow.
That's going too far.
Yeah, poor kid, man. The poor kid. Like, now of all times, let's turn on this damn jukebox and just torture Kenny.
I love the intro song to the show, though. So good.
So good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it just so good? Man,
yeah.
I love it. I absolutely fucking love it. I love everything about it.
Because most renditions of Que Sera Sera are a little upbeat, a little kind of hopeful. This is a friggin' dirge, man. This is mournful.
Yeah.
Pixies, man. They'll do that. The Pixies are great. Yeah, it's a good song. Really good intro. That's one thing I'm really glad that they haven't changed the intro sequence. It stayed the same every season, you know, from 1 to 3. It's been the same intro all throughout. I really am glad they haven't changed it. But yeah, obviously, before we close out, I just wanted to touch on this one last thing. But yeah, we saw some very weird and interesting drawings down there in the basement. And I am actually currently working on a video. I announced this the other day, but I am currently working on a video right now where I am breaking down every single painting in this basement and what some of them definitively mean and what some of them could potentially mean just based on some theories. But there are some clear cases in a lot of these paintings of things that we are definitely sure we've already seen in the show. You know, simple things like the Uncouey children, the bottle tree, you know, the boy in white, the Uncouey stones, the Civil War soldier, the diner, clear things that we already know we've seen in the show. But I'm going to be diving into some of these other ones, things that we have not seen in the show yet. Most importantly, the creepy man in yellow that I have some interesting theories about. I put one of my theories out in my recent video. I haven't revealed any of my other ones yet. I will in this video when it comes out. But I put one of my, not theories out there. It's not really a theory in that video. It's really just what this painting kind of just made me think of when I first saw it. And that instantly kind of reminded me of The King in Yellow by Robert Chambers. And then when you think about the story, The King in Yellow, and the land, the mysterious and ancient and cursed land of Carcosa, you start to see, and there are tons of similarities between The Man in Yellow, The King in Yellow, and Fromville. Like, these two stories share so many similarities, down to very weird, obscure references to things that we see referenced in both shows and both stories, down to things that are a little bit deeper in meaning in terms of kind of overall themes that they weave in and out, in terms of the act of, you know, driving people to the brink, driving people mad, which both stories are which is very prevalent in both stories, driving people mad and making them break. So there's some very interesting kind of similarities there. And if anyone hasn't read The King in Yellow by Robert Chambers, I would recommend, you know, giving it a read. If you are a reader, if you do like kind of finding new and weird and supernatural kind of Lovecraftian style stories, I would recommend reading The King in Yellow. And when you read it, you will probably start to notice a lot of the same similarities that I've noticed between these two stories, because there are a lot of overlaps. So that was one, but I do have some other interesting theories as to what this thing might be in terms of potentially being maybe the antithesis to the boy in white. We've seen the boy in white all over the place. Could this potentially be the boy in white's opposite, his rival, his enemy? And if that's the case, could the boy in white ultimately be the representation of the jade symbol? And could this guy potentially be the representation of the weird squid-like symbol that we have also seen in the caves? Again, there's some really interesting kind of imagery that they're playing with here. And I know the color yellow, a lot of people have been pointing out, From loves to use yellow in so many different instances. And the color yellow has many different, deeper philosophical meanings to it as well. But if that is your kind of deal, if that's something that you might like, I am actively working on that video right now. I'm going to try and have it out by Friday or Saturday, the latest. But it's been so fun to kind of dive into these drawings and try and dissect some of the ones that we do know, and then try to maybe theorize on some of the ones that we really have no clue what they are. We can really just kind of put forth vague theories, and that's all I'm really doing. I'm not saying anything that I'm putting in my video is definitively the truth. It's just my kind of fun way of interpreting some of these kind of really cool and interesting drawings, some that seem to have really clear direct connections to From. But yeah, that'll be out a little bit later this week. But were there any in particular pictures that kind of stood out to you guys in this basement? Was there one that you kind of took a second glance at and thought, oh, okay, what's going on there? Or was it just the general overall kind of like, oh shit, this is tons of things we've already seen kind of vibe?
Well, the only question I have about the man in yellow is that blood around him, or is that an entity behind him in red?
Exactly. No clue.
An aura.
Cool.
A menacing aura. Is it actual blood?
Yeah.
Good question. I know the picture analysis. I mean, there's people that just love doing this. I mean, they'll go. They did it for Eloise's drawings in the car graveyard. People really dig into this. I enjoy it, and I love seeing what they come up with. I just don't have the keen eye for detail or making out what it actually is. And but the theory crafters are going to go bananas with all this stuff.
Do you actually, like, I'll ask both of you guys, do you actually want to know everything? Like, do you want to be able to figure it out,
No.
or do you just want to see what happens as it comes?
I just want to see what happens as it comes. I'm one of the viewers that I'm not overly like craving every single answer, because I really enjoy just basking in the overall mystery of this show and just the phenomenal writing and the great acting performances. That in and of itself is keeping me more than well sustained, that I don't really need all of the answers yet. And again, I'm very much used to mystery box style of storytelling. It's a form of storytelling that I very much have been drawn to for a very long time. So I kind of knew going into this that this was going to be one of those shows where you do kind of have to have a little bit of patience as a viewer. The answers aren't going to come all at once, and they're not going to come early. It's going to be much later on. So this is one of those shows that definitely rewards the patience in the viewer. And then the payoffs end up being that much better when they are taking that long to kind of unfold. So I was kind of very much well prepared going into the show to not expect to get any big answers until much later on. And I'm still of a similar mind. I'm just enjoying the ride. If we get some nice answers along the way, which I do think we will get, I don't think it's going to be one of these things where we get to the final season and we get all of the answers dumped in our lap all at once. I don't think it's going to be like that. And the writers have already kind of hinted that that's not going to be the case, that it's going to be more of a gradual process, that as the season progresses, they will slowly start filling in all of these blanks. So by the time we get to the end, we'll have a much fuller picture of what the hell is going on. So I'm totally for that. I'm just along for the ride and cannot wait to see how these answers come and where these answers come and when they come. But I'm not overly kind of craving them. I'm just letting this thing, seeing where it takes me, kind of thing.
Yep, I'm that way too. Yeah, I'm minimal, very small theories, very small scale theories, things that explain one aspect or another, but not. I don't even endeavor to try to unlock the overarching story. So I'm very much in along for the ride mode. I think I've been kind of satisfied that a lot of this stuff is because there is just a natural tendency, and especially in the long hiatus between season 2 and 3, people will naturally write elaborate theories, deep layer after layer, and everything has a significance. Every frame has a significance. Everything, every item of set, like every decision that they've made, they apply all this deep significance to it. And again, I've referenced it before. The way they got Tabitha from the hospital to Henry's house, we had all this stuff happening, meeting with Eloise, this and that, and a very roundabout route that would have taken so much time. And they was bang there. Here's go visit, walk around randomly, find the church, find the priest, find the address, go to Henry's. It was all resolved in quick. And I like that sometimes. And I think we're going to find that more and more, that not everything is 31 layers deep. There's going to be a lot of superficial stuff. They have to move the plot along. And I think they're still going to have twists for us. They're still going to have surprises for us, but I think they're going to do it in a lot more controlled way, a way that's a lot more accessible to a casual viewer, a mainstream audience, and something that's a lot more direct than probably a lot of the deep theory crafters want to think. But it's still fun. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, nothing at all. Because I've always said, well, you have to go with what they've shown in the episodes, or what the screenwriters have shown us, and as you can't just go off and that's where I am wrong. Like, just say it as a thing. Well, you can't just go make something up. Of course, you can make up. You can just go make something up. I'm not the arbiter of what's true and false. I just am the arbiter of what I lend credence to. What I pay attention to. And this is a very cool thing. And going back to Rob's original question about which of these things kind of stuck out to me, a very small one was, we did finally see the boy in white with the crow mouth that we've seen in the intro since season 1. it finally actually does make its first appearance here in the show. And the other thing is the Civil War soldier. And I mean, I'm super basic, very surface level on this one. They finally showed us because that was a dangling thread. That was a data point that we had that had nowhere to go. It didn't have any development. We could make up a bunch of stuff, but we didn't have a second data point. Well, now we do. We know now Jade hallucinated it or had a vision of him, and now we've seen Miranda literally painting that Civil War soldier almost in the same shooting pose that he was when he shot at Jade, with the eye injury, the left eye injury. A lot of this stuff, it's not coincidence. It's 100% related, those two things. And that's, what does it mean? Don't know, but now we know it definitely means something. It wasn't just a throwaway element that they put in there for the funsies. So now we know. Now we know there is something more to that, and now we can put our efforts into analyzing what is the relevance of that. What is the relevance? How relevant will it be? Will it be super, pertinent to the plot, or will it be a major reveal, or will it just be world building, like an enrichment of the plot? But at least we know that it showed up twice, and that gives us at least the indication that it's not a red herring, hopefully.
I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at something like Victor's mum went to rescue those kids from being sacrificed to whatever the evil creature is in Fromville, and she didn't save them, but she stopped them from getting killed. I reckon that might be something that we find out down the road.
Okay, interesting.
Because if you scroll up to that picture before, Jeremy, it looks like there's some evil monster trying to eat a whole bunch of people.
I mean, and this is actually this is going to be in my video. I have an idea of what I think this is depicting. But not.
Tell us.
I like where your head's at, Rob. Yeah, this one stood out to me. It's that's all I'm going to say. That I'm saving it from a video. But no, it's just again. But what Ravener said is something I always need to kind of tell myself over and over again. Is that a lot of this stuff is going to be just meaningless at the end of the day. I mean, we do tend to. I think just by the very nature of this show being wrapped in so much mystery, we are, as an audience, are going to tend to overanalyze things that maybe really might not mean a whole lot. And I do think I do this all the time. I know I'm very guilty of this, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with doing that. You know what I say? Throw on that tinfoil hat, dive into that freaking rabbit hole, have fun with it. But I also want to prepare myself, because a lot of these kind of tinfoily theories that I do like talking about, I do believe that some of them might just be might not come true at the end of the day. It might just be kind of us diving a little deeper into something that maybe the writers themselves weren't planning on diving any deeper into. And I do think we will see little instances like that. And I think we saw a scene like that in episode 2. And I've loved this debate and this discussion that has popped up against, around this scene, where it seems like the fandom is kind of split down the middle in terms of some people thinking one way and some people thinking the other, in terms of Fatima and whether or not she was actually able to open the door to Colony House when she was outside. Some people think that she was trying to open the door and it was locked. She couldn't get in. Like maybe whatever is growing inside Fatima is making the talisman keep her out, I guess is the theory. And while I think that's an interesting theory, I think that's the perfect example of us kind of diving a little bit too deeper into things that probably don't mean anything. Because when I look at that scene, and I watched the scene multiple times, what I'm seeing is Fatima put her hand on the doorknob, doesn't turn the doorknob, doesn't even try to jiggle it and give us any indication that it's locked. If they would have kind of focused on the door handle a little bit more, and we would have actually heard Fatima like jiggling it, then I would have been a little bit more convinced. But it seems like she puts her hand on the doorknob, and then if you look at her face, literally the second She puts her hand on the doorknob. You see her nostrils perk up and she instantly smells the food. I think it's just as simple as she put her hand on the doorknob, smelt the food, and decided to not go in, and was drawn in by the smell of the rotting food, and she was craving it. But again, I think these are the perfect kind of scenes that sometimes we maybe dive into something that's a little bit just deeper, that we dive into something that might not be as deep as we maybe think it is. And again, I could be very 100% wrong. And you guys know me, I am no problem being wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being wrong every once in a while. I feel like when the show is over, a lot of us are going to be a lot more wrong than right at the end of the day. And that's totally fine. It is still fun diving into these theories and seeing what is going on. But just me personally, after watching that scene many times, after seeing the timing of the nostril flare up in Fatima's face, just perfectly coinciding with as soon as she touches the doorknob, and the fact that the camera doesn't really hone in on the doorknob. It doesn't, again, we don't really see her jiggling it like it's locked, like she can't get in. If I would have saw a little more emphasis on the doorknob, I would have probably thought maybe there is a little something more to it. But I think that's just the perfect case of she touched the doorknob, smelt the food, and just instantly turned around and decided to go to the food. I don't think it was one of those instances where she couldn't get in. I didn't really see any evidence pointing to the door being locked. Again, she didn't even look like she even attempted to turn the handle.
Yeah, see, and I was in the complete opposite. I was definitely on board with at least it might have been possible. But the thing is, the way they played it was they didn't, like you said, they didn't show her jiggling it, so they didn't give us much to go on. I think, and they said, well, yeah, she smelled it. She got to the door, put her hand on the handle, then the gust of wind, and you saw her hair blow, and then that indicated that she did smell it, and then turned around. And I was like, okay, which is true, absolutely true. But the wind was blowing into her face. She was upwind of the rotted stuff, not downwind. Her hair blew behind her, not in front of her, I think. And she turned to her left, not to her right, towards where the direction of the food is. Now, so that part, the conspiracy part of me says, oh, see, obviously. But again, I know this is a show and they're not going to have the wind blow in front of the actress's face and blow her hair in the way. And they really benefited by not focusing on the handle. Like you said, if she jiggled the handle and it didn't get purchased or it didn't come open in any kind of way, then that would have been answered. That would have taken away from the shock of her gobbling down on these disgusting things just a second later. So they played it perfectly. I mean, it was, at least in some people's mind, it was in my mind when it was brought up to me, because I'm definitely not the discoverer of that element of the scene, but I was definitely on board with it. I was willing to go along with it at this point. But would the story have been served? Would it have been shocking? Because it would have been two things. We would have been thinking, well, what about can she not get in now? Oh my gosh. And then we'd be thinking about her baby, because this was a mundane scene. She said goodbye to Ellis, got her little magic elixir from Marielle, and was just going home. There was nothing to this. It was not, there was nothing to this. And then the gobbling of this disgusting decayed food, that was the punch. That was the payoff of this scene.
That was the payoff of this scene. Yeah, I don't think there was anything even, I don't think the show even meant anyone to even think about the door scene. Honestly, I think that's just pure coincidence. She put her hand on the doorknob and just happened to smell the food and walk the other way. I don't think they're even intending any ambiguity to be there in the first place. Again, I could very well be wrong, and that's totally fine. But even if she didn't jiggle the handle, even if the camera would have kind of focused in a little bit more on the doorknob, and it kind of would have made sure that we as the audience made sure that we were looking at the doorknob, that would have given it a little bit more credence, in my opinion. But yeah, I just feel like this is one of those perfect examples where we kind of sometimes read a little too deep into things that just aren't there. But again, I very well could be wrong, and I have no problem being wrong at all. It's fun talking about these things either way, really.
Oh yeah,
but I do agree with you, Raven. I think the big payoff of this scene was her eating the food. That was the payoff of this scene, not the door.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know the Theorycraft people see it, would have seen it differently. I've kind of, I saw it differently. And there's a lot of decisions that they make. And this is a decision that the showrunner makes, the writers make. And there's exactly the same, like very similar instance to Tabitha getting from the hospital to Henry's house. We had all these stories written. We had all these permutations, all these possibilities, and explored all of them. What happened was what nobody had predicted. And all we can say is, oh, well, I would have done it differently. I would have written it differently, but you can only do it one way. It can only be done one way. And ultimately it's going to be the showrunners, the writers that decide this. So that wasn't what I would have written, but it's what we got. And then you assess, was that the good decision? I think it was. And
yeah,
it's like I agree with myself. I agree with you agreeing with me that the payoff of the scene, it was all about these gross rotted things. Adding the thing that I would have wanted it to be wouldn't have added to the scene. It would have it would have been neutral at best.
And Amy Bones brought up in the chat earlier, I mean, we've seen Fatima in Colony House before this, and we've seen that Fatima will be in Colony House again in a later episode. We've seen her inside in other scenes that we haven't seen in any of the episodes yet. So I feel like there's a lot more evidence pointing to that really being nothing, that she can enter Colony House. I don't think the talisman is going to keep her out. But again, it would be cool if it did. I mean, if the talisman does keep her out of the house, then that is going to at least definitively give us the answer that this baby is fucking sus.
And there's nothing to say it won't happen later. That maybe as it develops, there's nothing to say it might not happen later. Right now, we're dealing with the rotted food and her trying to do it on the download secretively.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Is it weird?
Liquid Ore says she picked up the rotten food before she went to the door. No, she didn't. Like because I had to go back and watch the scene like multiple times just to make sure. She doesn't. She goes to the door first, and then as soon as she gets to the door handle, she smells the food, then walks over to the food. She doesn't go to the food before the door. That is one thing I am certain of. I watched the scene multiple times. She goes to the door first, then to the food. Sorry, Rob.
I was just going to say, is it weird that they haven't moved, like her and Ellis moved back to the town, like in a house near the doctor?
Like, well, now that she's pregnant, and now that Ellis and Boyd are kind of getting along, it seems like that was probably part of Ellis's choice to live at Colony House and not stay in the town. The kind of split up he had with his father. It seemed like Ellis held a lot of resentment against him, but
pregnancy is obviously not going great, so maybe it'd be better to be by yourselves near a doctor, near your family,
as far away from the medical clinic as possible. No, you make a good point. I mean,
as far away from the people banging themselves, every night, which apparently we see all the time.
But then again, I feel like now Fatima kind of has to stay here because this is where the rotten food is, and I really do think. I think that this rotten food was specifically put here for Fatima and for the baby. I don't think it's any coincidence that this rotten food shows up just when Fatima is all of a sudden the only things that she can put down is rotten food for this baby. I think that food was specifically put there for her. So now it might be a thing where this is where they have to stay. But no, before she kind of ate this rotten food, if I was Ellis, I would have been like, no, we're staying at the medical clinic. There's beds there. We're staying there until you come to term. It'd just be the safest bet, I would guess, or at least close to the town where you're closer to it. So no, you make a good point. But yeah, I mean, so many questions coming into this third episode. Like one thing I really am super psyched about is that From is back, guys. From is back, and it seems to be better than ever so far. We've only got 2 episodes in. We still have 8 more episodes, 8 more weeks to dive head first into all things From and see where this incredibly crazy season is going to take us. And again, based on some of the trajectory of this season, only being 2 episodes in and already getting some nice definitive answers about Miranda, potentially Tabitha's chosen one status, and some other things, even though I think Jade might really be the chosen one. But we're getting real answers this year, guys, and it's so awesome to know that we're finally kind of taking the next step on the journey to Fromville, that next step to moving out of pure mystery and finally kind of advancing this plot a little bit more and slowly but surely starting to be able to put the pieces together a little bit more accurately. The edges of the puzzle are starting to be within sight, so to speak. So I could not be more happy that we are going to be diving into each and every one of these episodes every single week with each and every one of you. And I'm looking forward to it. We got looks like we got a pretty good season of From ahead of us to look forward to. But before we break it out, one thing I always like to ask on these streams to end it off on: what did you guys think of episode 2? Where would you rate it on a scale from 1 to 10? 1 being horrible, 10 being perfect. Where do you rate episode 2? Rob, what do you got?
It's a good question. I feel like I want to go back and watch episode 2. I feel like episode 1 was like a solid 10 out of 10. Like that hit like
so good.
Ton of brick. But then this one, you had the stuff with Kenny. This is pretty high, man. Let's give it a 9.5.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Raven? Are you keeping your same score from the other night, or have you moved it one way or the other?
You know what? I started out at 8 and then said no, it was a 9 based on the strength of Kenny. But man, Ethan was bad. Julie was bad. Donna was bad. So I'm gonna knock it back a half a point. I'm gonna move it from a 9 to an 8.5. I don't know. It's my floating scale, but yeah, I think.
What do you mean bad though? Like the acting was bad, or you just didn't like what they did in the episode?
The acting.
Okay.
Julie as the petulant girl, the petulant teenager, sure, I get it and everything, but she had that bitchiness, almost like when Tabitha was kind of nagging at Jim, and I understand, and Jim was written in a certain way, but didn't like how Julie did it. Ethan, a little bit of weakness there. I mean, and of course it's a child actor, you get what you get, but he had been better. I mean, he was way better than in season 2 than season 1. And a very highly charged emotional cry scene may just be a little bit beyond his ability at this point. No real knock on him, but you don't get credit for trying.
No, I recognize it too. I mean, you see Ethan in that scene when he's trying to convey his sadness about Tien Chen, and he's putting on a decent performance, but you can tell he's just someone that doesn't just quite have the experience yet at being able to convey those kind of emotions on command. He's still a kid; he needs some more world of experience yet, so you can kind of make those allowances. But I did notice it too. But again, I think the kid's great, but I think he's going to be a great actor when he grows up as well. But it's one of those things where some emotions are a little bit harder to convey to children than adults. But awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. For me, I am keeping it.
Keeping it in suspense.
That's a great score. Incredible.
You dropped right at when you started.
Shit. I gave episode 1 a 9.5. I'm sticking with my 9.5 for 1, and I'm sticking with my 9 here on episode 2. I think it was a solid 9. I was kind of teetering back and forth between 8.5 and 9. But again, the just phenomenal performance from Ricky Heat in this episode, and Harold Perrineau as well. I mean, Ricky was definitely like the highlight, seeing his acting performance, but Harold freaking brought it just like he always does in every scene that he's in terms of the very beginning of the episode. As soon as Jade unlocks his handcuffs and he just crawls over to Tien Chen's body, and you just see the devastation pouring out of him as he's holding her close. That is just really good acting that not every actor can pull off. And then, of course, this scene with Harold and Kenny at the cave, where they both just completely chewed this scene up. I can't give this episode any lower than a 9, just on those incredibly good performances, and based on all the other things. We got some definitive answers to some things, as Woodrow even brings up, even small answers to finally finding out whose freaking truck that was in the damn pool that was overturned, which is something we've been wondering for so long. Whose freaking truck is this in the pool? Even getting little answers like that is pretty satisfying. So I love that we're getting some answers along the way. The incredible acting performance and the incredible writing has been as good as it's ever been on the show. So I'm sticking with my 9.5 for episode 1 and a 9 for episode 2. But it looks like we got a lot of 9s in the chat as well. We got a 9. We got a 9.6. Nice. We got another 9. We got another 9. Hell yes, guys. We got a 9.5 from Dana Marie. Shinjin is giving it 10 out of 10 avocados. Yes.
Nice.
Yes. We got more 9s. We got another 9.5, another 9.5. Love it, guys. Love it.
So it's hitting, man. It's hitting.
It's funny
man.
though. Like if you took out that scene with Boyd and Kenny, what would your score drop down to? That's pretty crazy. Because it's funny how one scene can make a whole episode like that.
It really can. I mean, with all the other answers, I still would have given it a nice rating, but without the really good Kenny and Boyd scenes, I probably go from a 9 to an 8.
And I'd probably end up at 7. Yeah, I'd probably knock it down another 1.5 from 8.5 to 7. Kaylee K is absolutely correct by agreeing with me at 8.5. No, dude. You know, and you guys know, panel, and chat, you guys know. If you guys rate it higher than me, and you really enjoyed it more than that is friggin' awesome.
Love that.
Like if Jen got a 10 out of 10 on this one, that is awesome because we want everybody to enjoy this as much as we do, and there's nothing wrong with that, man. We love to see it. And, some people judge harshly and some people are a little more lenient, but if it really scratched the itch for you, that is what it's about.
That is that at the end of the day, this is one of those shows where you should be having fun with it. Have fun. Don't be afraid to, you guys, I say it all the time. As much as I like to really just take what the show gives me in terms of like really thinking where the show is going, I still love diving into the kind of tinfoily areas, those rabbit holes. And that's why I always say it. Have fun with this show, guys. Don't be afraid to kind of venture out into the weird and the crazy and those rabbit holes and throwing on that tinfoil hat and diving for it. Have fun with the show. But at the same time, always be prepared that we could be very much wrong at the end of the day, as much as we could very well be right. And I think that's one thing that as long as we prepare ourselves for, that we could be wrong or right, we're going to have fun along the way, just crafting these theories and seeing where the story goes afterwards. So yeah, I could not be happier. It seems like everybody is really enjoying season 3 so far. We've gotten a lot of 8s, 9s, and 10s. We haven't really gotten any really low scores, except for that one low score. We got someone that rated episode 2 like a 3, which is hilarious. And it's again, all scores are welcome. If you're not liking the episode, then that's totally fine. But that was really cool to see that someone kind of rated it a 3. I don't know if they were trolling us or if they really just didn't like the episode. But again, that's what's so fun about this fandom, and that's what's so fun about these discussions and how we each see every one of these scenes in a totally different light.
I would highlight that one.
Love it.
Yeah, I would want to hear their thought process on that one. How you knock this episode down 7 points?
How'd you get there? How'd you get to a 3? What did you not like about the episode? Would have been kind of cool to find out.
I mean, 3 out of 5 is pushing it. 3 out of 10 is like, okay, bud. I don't know about that. I'd like further explanation. Let me put it that way. Clarify.
Yeah, no, and again, that's it's awesome to see. And again, all scores are welcome. But yeah, if you ever guys do have a really low score and you want to tell us why you didn't like it, we love to hear from you guys. You know that we love creating that dialogue between us and the chat. Ravener and I and Rob could kind of be up here talking just amongst ourselves for hours and probably never get bored. But that's not the point of a live stream. The point of these streams is to hang out with you guys in the chat. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you liked about the episode. What did you not like about the episode? What are you looking forward to? What theories do you have? So that is what makes these streams fun. And that is why I cannot thank each and every one of you enough for coming out and hanging out with us every single time we hit that go live button. It really means the world. And again, we will continue. We will continue to keep this party going. The train has only just left the station. We still got many, many more episodes and many more weeks to look forward to. And we will be right there every step along the way. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you can check us out this Saturday. I will be live. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing a Friday stream this week or not. If I do, I will definitely let everybody know ahead of time in the Discord. But if not, we will definitely be live on our usual Saturday night times for our pregame show. And we will also be doing our Sunday night live watch party right here on the channel again as well. And of course, if you have not already checked out, I just uploaded today my episode 2 full in-depth breakdown. It's actually probably the longest episode review video I've done since like mid season 2. This video was almost 20 minutes long, and usually I keep my review videos down to like 10-15 minutes at most, but this one I just couldn't help it. There was so much I wanted to talk about, so this was one of the longest episode review videos I've actually done. So check that out if you haven't already. My episode 2 breakdown is up on the channel, and I will have my episode 3 trailer breakdown up on the channel either tomorrow or the next day, the latest, followed by my in-depth breakdown of me diving into each and every one of those drawings down in that basement and what some of them could potentially mean. Just some fun theory crafting. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you, and a huge thank you to my awesome co-host for joining me tonight. Rob, always good to have you on, my friend. You know you are welcome on here anytime you want to come hang out with us, and it's always good to hear you. I'm glad you're enjoying the season.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always fun. It's a great show.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Great show indeed. And to my brother, my partner in crime, my ride or die, Lord Ravener. You guys know him, you'll love him for many good reasons. Thank you for always being there, man. And let's tackle the rest of the season and see where it goes.
You got it, man. Glad to do it. I mean, it's awesome. We shared Shogun, then we shared this one. House of the Dragons was hit or miss. This has paid off so much. I said at the top of the show, I'll say it at the end of the show. This one, thankfully, after all the waiting, this one is really paying off through 2 episodes. All indications are they're going to keep the momentum into number 3. So guys, share it, like the stream if you like it, share it. We're going to be doing this every Monday or every Tuesday night. So be here, sub, please, if you want to see this again, this kind of analysis, this kind of discussion. And man, the anticipation is sky high. Enthusiasm for this is sky high. Love talking about this. Love hearing you guys's, takes on every different issue. It's just an absolute delight. And, again, thank you, Jeremy, for creating this community, and thank you, community, for just being freaking awesome, man. So before I get too mushy again.
I'm trying not to get too sappy on these streams anymore. I'm trying to tighten up. But
I love you, man.
But no, I 100% agree, man. It's a great fandom. It's a great community, and I by no means created this. Each and every one of you guys down in the chat, you guys created this. You, Ravener, you helped along the way more than anybody. But no, this is what it's all about. The awesome people in the chat diving into a show that we all love, and hopefully diving into the next show once From is over. Because once From is over, we will be diving into other shows that are also coming out. So hopefully some of you choose to come and join us along that ride as well. We got some interesting shows to look forward to, like the Dune series that is going to be starting right after From ends, along with some other really interesting ones. So we will be here all year diving into some awesome stuff, and of course we'll always keep the From content pumping. As long as you guys are up for talking From, we will be talking From well into the off season as well, if that is what you guys want. So again, big thank you. From forever. Again, From will be here. From will be here. If you guys want to continue to talk From even during the off season, then I would love to do that, and I will be right here every step of the way. So abso-freaking-lutely. But again, big thank you. Very much appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, guys, stay safe out there in this crazy freaking world. Keep those tinfoil hats on, and I will see you on the next one.